is not in any way a sign of undermining the law, is an act of complying with the law and ensuring that if in fact there's a recount, that you have electors who are available who are legitimate. This is a grotesque prostitution of the American legal system. It is an enormous danger to the very freedoms that have made us historically American. And I think it's, I'm with Phil Klein in the sense that this is vital, but it doesn't fit the normal donor patterns. It doesn't fit, people get excited by a campaign. Yet this is, in many ways, fundamental to our ability to have campaigns. It's fundamental to our ability to have freedom. And I think to the degree that we allow the left, by just sheer momentum of using government resources to wear out and exhaust people, not only is it totally an injustice to the people being charged, but it's also an injustice to everyday citizens, and suggests to them, you had better stay out of politics if you're a conservative, because you're going to be legally at risk, and the power of the government may come after you if you engage in your legitimate rights as a citizen. So I think this is a huge deal. I am delighted that Phil has worked so hard to put it together. And I want all of you to know that I think this is very much worth your time and very much worth your talking to others about it.
Well, thank you, Newt. One of the things that I was in a conversation with Eric Cardell about, and I would love your take on it, is he believes that right from the very start here, this Electoral College Vote Act is unconstitutional, and that the way that they even count the electoral votes is unconstitutional, and the idea that they're bringing charges up on an unconstitutional law is ridiculous.
Well, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a historian by training, so I can't comment on the legality per se. But what I will say is that the damage being done to normal, everyday people, both the level of fear that they have to live in, the amount of money they're going to have to raise, the impact of all this is, even if the Supreme Court intervenes and says these are all nonsense and they have to, they're false charges, the Attorney General of Michigan is not going to pay any price. The fact is, these folks, and the same thing's true for the Justice Department lawyers or for the district attorney in New York or the district attorney in Atlanta. These are people using the power of the state, the money of the American people, in order to, in effect, punish innocent people whose primary crime, if it's a crime, was to exercise their right as a citizen. So I think this whole thing is extraordinarily dangerous. And I think the gravest threat to our constitutional system since the Civil War.
Well, I couldn't agree more, and even from the standpoint of when these people are done with all of this, they can't come forward and reclaim any of these legal fees. So in a sense, the process is the punishment.
That's right. I mean, look, they're sending a chilling signal to everyone who would like to run for office, everyone who would like to be active in supporting campaigns. And it's a signal that says you may be putting yourself legally at risk if you're a Republican or a conservative. Now, of course, if you're a liberal Democrat, there is no risk, because under no circumstance will the current corrupt, weaponized system come after you. And that creates a remarkable imbalance of energy and of donations, and ultimately cripples freedom. It's the kind of thing you see in a place like Nicaragua or Venezuela, but you've never seen it in America before. I find it really frightening.
Would I be able to impose upon you, Newt, before we wrap up, and ask you to reach out to the audience with a plea as to why it's important they donate?
Look, if we don't preserve the freedom that we have as Americans, then donating to elections is in the end not going to be worth anything. And the left has figured out how to use the law as a system of warfare. And they deliberately are trying to break us in an area that we're not used to. We're not the party of trial lawyers. We're not the party of litigation. And I think we don't have the kind of law school professors who believe in destroying the system. And so I think we're at a significant disadvantage. Now, we can respond, we can learn, we can be involved, and for relatively modest amounts of money, I think we can change history and break up this entire strategy. But I do think without that kind of resources, people like Phil Klein are not going to be able to successfully stand up to the machine. And we desperately need the help of people who care enough about America to reach a little deeper into their pocket and to try to be helpful. So I'm delighted to be able to be part of this because I do think it's a very important step towards preserving freedom in America.
Just on a side note, any predictions about the 2024 race and what you see unfolding?
Well, look, I think it's all going to be a legal brawl. I mean, the next phase is going to be an effort by Democratic secretaries of state and Democratic controlled counties to literally block Trump from even being on the ballot. So this is not going to go away. This fight inside the legal system is as important as the fight in the political system. And you're going to see this. I tell people this is not a political year. This is a historic year. We haven't seen anything like this level of threat since 1859 and 1860. And I think it's a really dangerous threat at every level. And we're going to have to be militant, we're going to have to be active, and we're going to have the courage to stand up and fight.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Newt.
Thank
it was
you.
Exceptionally generous of you to be here. God bless. And
thank you for taking leadership and for pursuing this. I'll just say one in closing. It is really, really important.
And Phil, I just want to wish you luck in your pending litigation. I know that you, as a former Attorney General and now a professor of law, have all of the expertise that you need to be successful. I'm hoping that our judicial system gives you a fair shake, and I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you. And as the speaker said, if we act together beyond our fear, we can prevail.
The day-to-day stress about living like this, I described it to people as being diagnosed with cancer. I think that's probably what it's like. You just don't know if you're going to survive it or not. But you know, of course, you turn much closer to God at times like this.
I feel strong spiritually. I spend a ton of time in prayer. I wake up in the middle of the night and I do have fear. But I mean, that's not new. You know, I've had that before. I try to spend more time in prayer, more time leaning on God's word. And there are so many people that are praying for us. So, you know, it's taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me more where I worry about other people who care about me. I worry about my husband the most because he feels bad about it and he's worried for me. I know he is. And so that hurts me. I feel bad that my kids have to worry and be concerned. I'm happy that I raised 3 kids that are that make light of a lot of things, and that they're also very prayerful. You know, I worry about finances. It's taken a toll on us that way, but I know that that's part of the plan. People a lot smarter than me keep telling me that the process is the punishment. And when somebody weaponizes a legal system against people, that the process that they put you through really is the punishment that they envision. And I see.
Well, in these conditions, you find out who your friends truly are. You find out who in the family is willing to bear the brunt with you. And my wife is bearing the brunt. It's very hard on her. It's very harsh on her. It's a very dystopian disillusionment when you're confronted with, the wrongs of the state targeting you. And the wrongs of the state is what we are confronting. We will persevere. It's not going to be an easy journey. It's a tedious journey, and it's a journey, unfortunately, we have to stand up tall to confront, and that's what we're doing. It's unsettling since this has become public. The last 10 days of August, we've done nothing but work on every day for the solution. And the solution will be, by God's grace, where we will persevere.
Well, you just got to keep a really positive attitude. And I always kind of try to look on the bright side of things. And I just have this feeling like God never puts anything in your way that he thinks that you can't handle. So obviously God thinks that I can handle this, and I know in my heart God has my back, and if God has your back, that's all you need.
It's an honor today to be able to introduce this next guest. He is the pastor of the largest church, I believe, in the city of Detroit, the Jubilee Calvary Church. I'd like to welcome to the telethon Pastor Apostle Ellis Smith. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't pastor the largest church in the area, but I am a leader, and I've been very engaged in what's happening in the culture when it comes to education, when it comes to politics and government, when it comes to the dynamics of the culture, and how God wants his ecclesia to overcome the opposition that we're facing. And we are indeed facing opposition. So I'm not sure if I'm supposed to have any kind of dialogue or ask me questions, or can I go ahead and just share what's on my heart?
Well, I'd like to do a little of both, but before, I'd like to ask you if you could lead us all, including those watching at home, in prayer.
I'd be more than happy to. Father, we thank you because you've called us for such a time as this to raise up a standard of righteousness in the midst of a wicked and perverse generation. And though things are seemingly deteriorating all around us, you're doing something fresh and new within us. Help us to understand that what lies within us is greater than what lies in front of us. That you've done something in us that, as your word says, we have a treasure in these earthen vessels. You've armed us. You've given us everything we need to overcome the works of the wicked one. So I pray, dear God, that everyone who's part of this telethon begins to recalibrate in their understanding of who we are, what we're called to do, that we are in a war. And sometimes it appears we're losing some battles, but ultimately we know we will win the war because we read the back of the book and we've seen we win and the enemy loses. We thank you for it. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you. Now I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to let you say what's on your heart, sir.
Well, thank you all for allowing me to be a part of this great telethon. The state of Michigan, as you know, it's shaped like a person's hand. And that denotes to me the hand of God is mighty upon our state. And whenever God is doing something fresh among his people, it always draws the attacks of the wicked one. He'll lead us into places where we will be attacked. Why? Because we have to be proven. So right now, this is our time to shine and not whine. This is our time to recalibrate in the spirit, in prayer, in righteousness, in holiness, in spiritual warfare and to be what he's called us to be as his ecclesia. So when Jesus said in Matthew 16, upon this rock, I'll build my ecclesia, my church. That word there in the Greek, ecclesia, is not a churchy word. It's not a religious word. It's not some kind of sacramental type expression. Actually, it came from the political governmental realm. The ecclesia was a group of people called out from the city, and they had legislative authority. They had economic authority. They had law enforcement authority. They had military authority. So Jesus said, upon this rock, I'll build my ecclesia, meaning you've known of other ecclesias, but now this one belongs to me. This is my ecclesia. When we understand that dynamic, he goes on to say, and because of that, we have the power over the gates of hell. They will not prevail against us because we have the revelation of who the risen, powerful, awesome Christ is. When we understand that, we recognize we're going to face stuff. And right now we're facing some very serious issues in our state. We're politically, culturally, governmentally, there's all kinds of diabolical activity going on in our state capitol. We all know that. But when we understand the nature of what's really going on, we wrestle not. And some Christians stop right there. They wrestle not, period. But it says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this present age. I can't get into it right now, but there are 6 rulers of darkness. And they look for a dark place, a dark region, a dark place in us. All of us can have a dark place in us. Anywhere where darkness operates, they want to dominate. So we have to flip the script and begin to shine the light of God's word. Because wherever darkness is, light will cause it to go away. It can only operate where there is no light. Our problem is we haven't had enough light shining in the right places. And because we haven't shined the light in the right places, darkness has prevailed. So as bad as things look right now, I believe it's a spiritual wake-up call for the ecclesia, the body of Christ, so that we recognize we are in the last days. Satan knows his days are short, so he's intensified his attack. It's come through different ways: secularism, humanism, postmodernism, modernism, pantheism, atheism, even wokeism, and all the other isms that ought to be wasms. Now God is
wasms. I love it.
So when you understand that dynamic, it shifts everything.
So Pastor, I wanted to ask you if you could please make a plea to the audience to donate to help these electors legal fees. This is overwhelming, the hundreds of thousands of dollars this is going to cost for them to clear their good names. So I was hoping that you could, in the next 30 seconds, make a plea for a donation.
Absolutely. Because Satan is the accuser of the brethren. I was going to get to, he's the accuser of the brethren, and he uses platforms and where we're vulnerable. And this is one of those areas. So I want to plead with your listening audience, your viewing audience, whatever platform by which they are listening in or viewing, to make a contribution. We've got to come together as the body of Christ. This is not just a political antagonistic issue. This is a spiritually antagonistic issue. So I want to plead with all of those who are viewing and listening to make a contribution individually, from your ministry, from your business, from the entities you're associated with. We've got to band together. At the end of the day, we will win in Jesus' name.
Amen. Pastor, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and for your prayer. I know it means a lot to the audience, and it means a lot to those electors. God bless you.
God bless you. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
So we're back live in the studio, and we've got a guest that's coming on. Many of you know Justin Barclay. He's a great media personality and a conservative voice in Michigan. And I'm really excited he's here. It's good to see you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, do you want to stand or sit? What should we do here?
I can stand. I've been sitting all day.
Okay, good. Take it away, man. Yeah. I'm going to get out of your way, and I'm going to let you do your thing. Here's the mark.
All right.
Thanks, Justin.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I'm just here to give support. This is such a big fight. I don't think we've been talking about this a lot on the radio. And if you're not maybe familiar, who is this guy? I just pop it in to say hi. So I'm a radio host here in Michigan. I do a talk show on a couple of different radio stations. Now, we just launched our new one today, in fact. If you're on the east side of the state, it's 9:10 a.m., so it's all the shows from Glenn Beck to Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, Clay and Buck, all these great shows. But the biggest thing is that you finally, on the east side of the state, get a chance to hear, I think, the truth. And a lot of people talk about conservative talk radio, and of course, I am conservative. I'll do the morning show 6 to 9 in a lot of ways. But, you know, these are perspectives, these are stories that most people aren't going to get a chance to hear, particularly when we talk about these stories of these 16 who are now political prisoners. We're talking political persecution, not just prosecution. But these are major stories in our time that are happening right in front of our faces, and a lot of times people don't even realize what exactly is happening. That's a shame, because we're losing our country. Particularly in this case, you've got 16 individuals who stood up, some of them senior citizens, who just wanted to be a part of that process moving forward here in America, how we hold our elections. You know, this is a crime to see what's being done to them. In fact, I think that's the real crime, especially in this day and age where every day we find out more and more.
Any
Gateway
questions?
Pundit has been leading the way with some reporting on this story, particularly out of my neck of the woods in Muskegon, Michigan,
He's from
where we found out that clerks have found out they've known the whole time. Clerks knew that there were shenanigans afoot. There were people with thousands of absentee voter applications that they were trying to just drop during the middle of the 2020 election, leading up to that point in November. They knew since October. They've discovered it. They've talked about this now. They had a Facebook group chat where, believe it or not, these people were having conversations with clerks throughout the entire state about the very issues. So, as President Trump has said, I thought very aptly so, most recently, particularly in terms of this election, if not, it was rigged. It was rigged. They want to do it again. That's what we're seeing now with all the election interference when it comes to the indictments, when it comes to what we're watching happen right in front of our very eyes. You know that during the 2020 election, Michigan's Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, had instructed those very clerks who were chatting about the shenanigans they had seen happening right there inside 10,000 registrations in Muskegon County. Isn't that something? How many of those were fake? How many of them made it through? Now, we were told this is the safest, the most secure election. Sounds very similar, like safe and effective. Like I've heard these terms used before in several different ways. But we were lied to from the beginning. They knew it the entire time. Now, the craziest thing to me is that I can't even blame Dana Nessel, Michigan's Attorney General, for a lot of this, because unfortunately, the Muskegon City Police, after they were alerted by the clerk, they kicked it out to the Michigan State Police. The Michigan State Police involving Dana Nessel as well as the Attorney General. And then she shoots it off to the FBI, and Bill Barr sits on it. And as you know, Bill, I could probably say this myself, but he can cover things up quite a bit when he sits on them. And that's one of the biggest issues. We've had issues left and right. And if you look at what's happening here, Michigan's Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, Matt, the craziest part to me is she broke the law. The judge herself said, you're not allowed to do this. She told these very clerks in that Facebook group, don't look at those absentee ballot and voter application signatures. You don't have to look at those. And yet Dana Nessel has come and wants to hold these 16 away in handcuffs and chains. It's absolutely unthinkable. It's criminal.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Justin, I can't thank you enough for stopping in and saying hi to us. I want everybody to tune in to 9:10 a.m. and hear this new conservative channel that's going to be servicing Metro Detroit. It's great. We're going to have Glenn Beck and Justin and a lot of other conservative voices all day long. And like he said, the truth is back in Detroit. I'm going to go to a live Zoom now with two people that I have to say are heroes of mine. I'll never forget watching this, I think, live with Mark and Patricia McCluskey. You guys were amazing when that Black Lives Matter mob showed up in your private street, through the gates, up your driveway, and you guys held your own on your front porch, the courage that took. And honestly, I think there were many, many Americans that all of a sudden the light bulb went off and said, wow, maybe that Second Amendment's important. So I really appreciate you guys being here. Welcome to the telethon. How are you doing?
You know, we're doing okay. Hey, thanks for having us on. You know, as always in the modern American world, your thanks for defending yourself and upholding individual liberty is persecution and prosecution. We live in a world, in those days, a George Soros-funded extremist prosecutor who viewed her job as decriminalizing crime and criminalizing self-defense. But we finally got that beat. Bar Association then decided that what we did in standing on our front porch, defending ourselves against an angry mob of 350 to 500 people, by the way, some of whom were armed and wearing body armor and threatening us with threatening our lives, rape and murder my wife, burn down my house, burn down my office building, even kill my dog. The Bar Association wanted to have our licenses taken away because that was a crime of moral turpitude, and we were too evil a people to practice law anymore. So
that's unbelievable.
That's the new world in America.
So I have to say, I think I read somewhere that one of the guns you guys were holding was actually not even a real gun. It was more of like a lighter or something. You guys were just doing anything you could to protect your home. Is that true?
Well, Patty had never had a gun in her hand before. I've got a drawer by the front porch, by the front door, where I keep a bunch of trash guns that I use in litigation. This had been an exhibit in a lawsuit against in a products liability case for many years before. I had a nice 12-gauge Mossberg loaded sitting right on top of that same cabinet, but not knowing guns, when she went out to defend the front porch, she grabbed that little Bryco pistol, which the estate then had to take apart and reassemble to make work.
Unbelievable. Patty, what were you feeling when all that was going on?
You know, Patty, when the mob hit the gate, when they just filled the street, we live, as you said, we live in a private neighborhood. There's about 3 different signs that say no trespassing, private residents only. They marched past that, tore down the gate, poured in. I stood out on the edge of the porch and I said what I always describe as the 2 most racist white supremacist words in the English language. I said private property. Well, being communists, that pissed them off and they started storming in. But I got to tell you, until you see 350 to 500 people standing in front of you, 10 rows deep, all screaming at the same time, you just can't imagine what that's like. And it was an experience that I never want to have happen again, except it did happen again the following Friday. But that really is the value of the Second Amendment. 2 people standing up against a crowd of hundreds with just 2 guns. Nobody got shot. We didn't have to put off a single round, and yet we stopped it. And that 32-second clip that everybody saw on television was the last 32 seconds of a 17.5-minute event after almost everybody had left. I mean, the first 17 minutes of that, it was quite a thing to behold. Are we there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just am listening to this and I'm trying to picture what it would feel like to be on my front porch and have a mob of 500 people screaming at my home with my poor wife next to me. It had to be terrifying.
Our 31-year-old daughter was having dinner with us that night on the patio. The first thing she said is, we're all dead. And she went inside, and when she saw him approaching towards the front door, she literally fell down on the floor in terror and then ran upstairs and hid behind a sofa. I mean, this was not a benign event. And yet this is what's coming to all of our neighborhoods. This is why they do this, is to make people know that you can't be safe anywhere. The government's not going to help you out. You're going to either have, as I always say, when the fit hits the shan, you're out there and you're wild lonesome. If you don't defend yourself, there's nobody that's going to defend you.
Well, you guys know what it's like to be victims of political persecution. I'd like to ask you to put out a plea to the telethon audience to help these electors raise the hundreds of thousands of dollars it's going to take just to clear their good names. And I'm going to let you go. Take it.
Absolutely. I mean, we now live in a totalitarian country. You now have the right to agree with a lie that the government tells you or be prosecuted for it. We no longer live. My wife took our dog to the vet today. The vet had to whisper into her ear in his own office that he was a supporter of ours and that he thought that everything we did was good and justified. That's the kind of world we live in today, where if you stand up for your rights, if you stand up for your political beliefs, you get crushed by the government. We cannot allow this to happen. If we don't all stand together right now, if you can only give $1 or $5, it's not gonna kill you. But what it will do is show this government there's a lot of us out there. There's safety in numbers. They can't put us all in jail. Demonstrate to the world that we will win this thing, that we will stand together, that we will not be sheep, that we'll be a free people. We'll stand together against this tyranny. And we got to start right now in Michigan, trying to put people in their 70s and 80s in jail for the rest of their life for doing no more than doing what they thought was just and proper under the circumstances. That's out there to send a message to all of us: behave or we will crush you. And the only way we're going to beat it is if we stand together. So even if you can only do $1, I mean, if you can do $100,000, that's great. But if each and every one of us can kick in $1, that'll show the powers that be, the rhinos and the deep state, that we are not alone, that we are big in numbers, and we're willing to stand up and support freedom.
And
Thank you so much.
We are there morally for them too, because that was so important to us. Know that we are there morally for you, in addition to financially. So thank you.
I can't thank you enough for being on the show, you guys. Mark and Patty McCulkey, thank you so much for being on, and God bless you guys. Thank you for your plea for donors, and thank you for continuing to represent freedom and truth and not backing down. I've got a real treat to announce. Evidently, Justin Barclay has been kind enough to offer to co-host with me. From my standpoint, to have a professional broadcaster come in and join me in this broadcast, that's really an exciting thing. And Justin's got a wealth of knowledge and information that he can share, and he's got a great perspective, and I'm looking forward to sharing the stage with him, and maybe together we can somehow come up with the magic formula it takes to get these people to start really contributing on a large scale.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, first of all, I've been watching you all day, man. You're a pro. Like, I don't know what you're saying. You're a pro. Anybody who can stand up here and talk this long is, and you barely get any breaks. I know you're trying to make it, but, you know, I know you're.
I got to tell you, I said to my wife, I don't know how I'm going to do an 11-hour broadcast. She goes, honey, you never shut up. There will be no problem at all. So here we are.
Yeah, your wife and I probably talk to one another, too, about that. I got to tell you, when you're passionate about this stuff, though, if you find the energy, you find the persistence to move it forward. I mean, 12 hours is incredible. You're going to be able to, I think, dig deep inside and find it, especially if you really consider what these people are going through. If you think about what these Americans, just like me and you, are going. Here's the thing, folks. President Trump has said this for a while, right? Matt, he said, it's not about me. It's you that they're after. I'm just standing in the way. We've seen the meme, of course.
Yeah.
We understand, but I don't think we can really understand what's going on until you really take a look. You have average, everyday people here. These are people that I've met and had a chance to get to know a few of them through the years. They're patriots. They're just real, like average, everyday people, just like me and you. And right now they're being run through the political ringer because we're in a lawless situation right now. I mean, yeah. we have lawlessness and lawfare abounds. So, folks, the details, the information is very simple. You can give right now. What is it? GiveSendGo.com.
/Michigan Electors. You can call our call center, and there are a great group of volunteers there that are waiting to talk to you. 888-403-8550. Or on your screen, there's a QR code that you can hold your cell phone up to the screen of your computer or your television at home, your flat screen, and it'll take you right to the spot you need to go to donate. But more important than the donation at this time is also you're sharing it on social media. We need you guys to help this broadcast go viral. We've got 3 hours left. Everybody's home from work. They've had dinner. This is the time that we can really make this thing matter, and it takes you going on Twitter, taking the link to gatewaypundit.com and tagging a bunch of people that have huge followings: Newt Gingrich, Laura Loomer, Kari Lake, Donald Trump. tag them all, and maybe some of them will retweet it, and then those will get retweeted, and people will start tuning in and donating.
Yeah, it's important because people always ask me, what can I do? You know, what can I do? You know, you see all these things happening in front of you all the time, and you wonder, gosh, I mean, what good is it going to do? What can I do? Well, here's the moment, folks, where you can stand up and take some action. I don't know that we can do everything, but we can do the one thing that's right in front of us, and I don't know exactly that I'm called to do the same thing you're called to do, but we, each and every one of us, has something we're called to do in this moment, and I think the Lord's put us here right now for such a time as this. That's why we're here right now. That's why we're engaged in this together. Just take that one thing, if you're feeling that urge right now to maybe pick up the phone or go online, givesendgo.com/Michigan Elector. You may say to yourself, I don't have much to give. Every dollar, every little bit is going to count, but you also have the ability to pick up the phone and say, can you believe what they did to these 16 people? Have you seen this? Share the link, share the live stream, and let people know what's going on today.
So we're cutting away to a live Zoom with a guy who's really put it all on the line. I mean, to be a star in Hollywood, to be somebody that is around this insane amount of really, really far left thinkers. We've got Nick Searcy here. He has been on the front line, unashamed to declare his conservatism and to speak up against what he's witnessed going on like the rest of us. In fact, he put together one of the most spellbinding, remarkable, compelling documentaries called Capital Punishment. Nick, thank you so much for being here today and for everything you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm proud to be here.
I really think that it might be just valuable to let you take the ball and run with it and talk about what's on your heart and what your feeling is about everything you're watching nationally and what you think people need to do.
Well, in making Capital Punishment, what we came up against or what we ran into, what we learned was how the FBI and the Department of Justice was using really Gestapo-like tactics to sort of intimidate and scare people who went to Washington on January 6th to exercise their constitutional rights. And you see it continuing today. We're in the midst of making a sequel to Capital Punishment now, where basically we are following these good, decent American people, most of them veterans, most all of them Christians, going to prison. People who've never done anything illegal before in their lives, no criminal record whatsoever. And the FBI comes to their house at 6 a.m. in the morning, breaks down their door, handcuffs their wives and children, and basically treats them like serial killers. Yeah. And it's the same thing that's happening with the Michigan electors. It's the same thing that's happening in Georgia with the president and all the people that have been indicted down there. They are trying to send the message that if you resist us, if you question us, if you believe that we did something wrong in the election and you bring it up, this will happen to you. We will destroy you. And even though a lot of these things are legally, they don't have much standing, the process is the punishment.
Yes.
By putting these people through these things for years, it doesn't even matter if they're convicted at the end or not. The process of being prosecuted is the punishment.
Where do you go to get your good name back? Where do you go to get your life back? And speaking of which, Nick, we've been seeing that there are a number of these folks who have been accused now and, of course, pulled through the ringer on this stuff that are committing suicide. They feel so hopeless and helpless. We've just lost another one just the other day.
Yeah, I mean, heartbreaking. We talked to Jerry Perna about her nephew, Matt, and that's what I mean by the process is the punishment. You just torture these people who really, you know, in Matt Perna's case, he went to the FBI and turned himself in. He said, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. This is what I did. I walked through. I didn't touch anything. I didn't hurt anybody. And he was ready to take a plea deal. And then at the last moment, they call him before sentencing and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to tack on like a domestic terrorism charge. You might end up doing 10 years. And he killed himself. I mean, this is what's happening. And they are doing this deliberately. These aren't mistakes. They are intentionally torturing and putting these people through the ringer to send the message, don't ever oppose us again. Yeah. This is what they do in banana republics. It's what they do in communist countries. Yeah. And that's what's coming here. It's already here.
It's here.
It's unbelievable. And I read the other day that the one guy who was just sentenced to 20 years has got a 4-year-old child.
Yeah.
And he literally walked into the Capitol and he was in there maybe a minute and a half and turned around and walked out?
Yeah.
I
mean, it's unbelievable. And, you know, I was there in Washington on that day. I was outside filming. I didn't go in the building, but there's a lot of people that didn't go in the building that have had these ridiculous charges because they were in a restricted area.
Yeah.
Well, basically, Ray Epps and his men took down all the fencing and all the signs, so nobody knew they were in a restricted area. So there's nothing stopping them from coming after me, is what I'm saying. And I wake up every day going, I don't know, I could get a knock at the door any minute.
It's unbelievable. I'd like to ask you to make a plea to the audience that's watching right now about why it's important that they support these people who are being accused of 8 felonies with a total penalty of 80 years, most of which are mid-70s or older, people living on a fixed income, people who could lose their homes, they could lose their retirements, and if they got even 5 years at the age of 80 years old, it could be a death sentence. I mean, you'll spend the rest of your life in prison. Yeah. So I'm going to just let you take the ball and run with it and make a plea to the audience.
Well, we have to speak up because the very reason they are doing this to these people is to silence everybody else, is to keep everybody else in fear and say, I don't want to speak up like they did. I don't want to do anything to resist these people because it might come against me. And that's what we have to do. We can't be a nation of sheep with our heads down going, I hope the authorities don't get around to me. That's what it's like in North Korea. That's what it's like in Cuba. Yeah. We don't want to live that way. And what we have to do is raise our voices, contribute to their fund GoFundMe accounts, do whatever you can to speak up and defend these people. Because if we don't do it, there's no reason that it won't happen to each and every one of us.
I think about this as I have a couple of daughters, Matt. They're very, very young. One's about to turn 3, the other one's about to turn 1, and what kind of a world are we leaving for them? I do believe there will be a time, and that day is coming, where we will all have to answer. Where were you? What did you say? What did you do when they came for these people? That day may not be too far from today. So your opportunity right now is to take action. Matt, what can they do? I know there are several different ways to help give and contribute today.
Well, again, we've got Nick Searcy here. I mean, this guy produced one of the most compelling documentaries I've ever seen in my life, Capital Punishment. He's a Hollywood star, and this guy has put his career on the line because, you know, out on the West Coast with the very, very far left media machine and movie producers and basically A-list stars, you are blackballed if you are vocal at all about your conservative values and views. But yet, here he is making a documentary. Here he is on our telethon trying to raise money for the Michigan electors, speaking out against this tyranny. And we need you to respond to that generous act on his part by being generous yourself. These electors that put their name on this alternate list were duly elected electors in their congressional districts. They thought they were doing the right thing by protecting our vote in the event that pending litigation overturned the state to President Trump. They protected your vote. It's time we protected them. Please go to givegosend.com/Michigan electors. Dial 888-403-8550. There's a QR code on your screen that you can scan with your cell phone. It'll take you right to the point where you can donate. Nick, any final thoughts, 30 seconds, and then we're going to bring on a live guest here in studio.
You know, they just saw the news that Enrico Tarrio got 22 years. He wasn't even there on January 6th.
Wasn't even there.
So the oppression they're intensifying it. They're not giving up on it. They're going to keep the pressure. So give all you can and speak up. Don't let these people bully you into silence. That's the most important thing.
Thanks again for your participation and your goodwill. Really appreciate it. God bless you, sir.
God bless you. Thanks for having me.
So our next guest is, someone that I have known in Michigan politics since 2015. I've watched her go from just a really dynamic newcomer to Michigan politics with a real, true grounding in her faith and her educational background in religion. and then ultimately her becoming a media personality, and then really rising up and having herself be known when she ran for our Secretary of State of the state of Michigan, and then ultimately became the Michigan GOP chair. Thanks for being here, Christina. How are you, sweetie?
I'm good. How
I need
are
a
you,
hug.
Matt? So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, glad to be here.
I mean, you're in a really rough position as the leader of the party, watching this happen to just regular people, all of which I know you know them. I don't know if you want to just take a few minutes to just talk to the camera and.
Yeah.
Get it right, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let me do that. I'm sorry. They told me to do that and I forgot.
Yeah, well, thank you, Matt, for having me on. The first thing it's really sad to see that our government is being weaponized against citizens, of people who are exercising their constitutional rights, people who did not break any laws, but yet our Attorney General, who permits absolute lawlessness in our state, goes through the pretzel logic to put grandparents in jail. These individuals are facing felonies. Many of these individuals may go bankrupt. So even if they're successful at defending themselves, imagine going bankrupt at 81 or in your mid-70s. And this is why we have to support the electors. One of the challenges is that the other side, they seem to be so organized, so united in a common cause to not only destroy our country, but to destroy the lives of individuals who dare to speak up, who dare to stand up. And the reality is the goal isn't just to ruin these innocent people's lives, but also to strike fear in the heart of any other American who would dare stand up, who would take a stand and be bold about speaking the truth and be bold about fighting back. We have every right to petition our government for a redress of grievances. I myself personally, as you know, Matt, I was there at the TCF Center. And so the claim that these individuals had no reason to believe there was fraud in the election is totally ridiculous. As you were there as well, and we both witnessed it with our own two eyes. And if you look at the story in Muskegon, there was a voter fraud ring where this organization was involved in potentially registering fraudulent registrations. To make matters even worse, when there was a police raid at the one of their Southfield locations, the police found semi-automatic weapons with suppressors. Now, what type of voter registration organization needs semi-automatic rifles with suppressors and custom pistols? And this organization have received millions of dollars from Democrat organizations, and yet they were a voter registration organization. So that just kind of goes to the well-coordinated effort it was to not only corrupt our elections, but now to persecute people who dare to speak up. And so this is why we must support these 16 electors, because if Nessel and her cronies are successful at persecuting these people, it will be you next.
You know, the one thing that I heard about the Muskegon case, that, you know, it's my understanding that these boxes were received by clerks and they were labeled as PPE, which is personal protection equipment, which, you know, most people would relate to the COVID protections that were being sent to cities on a periodic basis. People would open up the box. The top of it would be filled with masks and gloves. And then as you went down, all of a sudden there's a box of 5,000 absentee voter registrations. And when the chief of police started going to some of these addresses and they started looking them up, there were no such people. A lot of the addresses were a school or a church or an empty parking lot or a business that had gone out of business. And what they were trying to do is just put these names into the voter rolls so then they could vote absentee and no one would be able to know that there really weren't people there.
Yeah.
And I guess this has happened in many counties in Michigan now, and that's my understanding.
And how many throughout the country?
Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't just here. This had to happen all over the country. This is another situation of once you've opened that barn door, that horse is out. We don't know where it's run off to.
No, you're absolutely right, Justin. That's the thing. GPI Strategies had operations all across America, to you guys' point, not just in Michigan. And when we get to the points of the firepower, of course, we're pro-Second Amendment, but the hypocrisy is the Democrat Party doesn't want us to have semi-automatic rifles, but one of their voter registration organization has semi-automatic rifles. And the next question is, what were they protecting? Who were they prepared to shoot? I mean, this doesn't add up. So this is the well-networked organization. We see, you know, like the quote from Joe Biden when he said we have the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. I mean, that is a direct quote from Joe Biden. It's on camera. So when you look back at the 16 electors, these folks had every reason to do what they didn't, but they didn't break the law. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's precedence that this happened before in Hawaii.
Yeah.
If I'm accurate.
1960.
Yeah. So this has happened before. So
Well, not only did it happen, if you know, to walk back the audience, because it's now almost 6:30. We've talked about this a little bit throughout the day, but during the Hayes-Tillman presidential race in the late 1800s, basically 3 states submitted alternate electors. In 1960, the state of Hawaii was under a recount because the distance between Nixon and Kennedy was 0.5%. The governor wouldn't sign any certificate of electors, so they all filed alternate sets, and ultimately the Democrat alternate set that wasn't signed by the governor was the one that was used because Kennedy won the recount. And then we go to 2000 with Bush Gore and that hanging Chad disaster down in Miami-Dade and Broward County during the 2000 presidential race. We also had Gore submit an alternate set of electors. So there is quite a bit of precedent. And then even in this instance, we had 7 states in contention where this was done.
Yeah.
And Michigan was by far the only one and the first one that charged these people for literally doing what had been done historically.
And we're finding out those pizza boxes on the windows at the TCF Center was just the tip of the iceberg of what could have possibly gone wrong in this state. I can't imagine what we'll continue to discover.
You know, to that point, Justin, while we were in there, not only did they put those greasy pizza boxes up, but they also chained the inside of the door shut. That is a fact that most people aren't aware of, but I witnessed it myself.
Well, Christina and I were 2 of the ones that didn't go for the lunch break, that we were being told over and over, you need to leave now if you're going to take a lunch. Go now if you're going to take a lunch. And all the Republicans left the count hall, but they had conveniently set up tables and catering for the Democrats. And when we went to our room, which was upstairs and out of the count hall, they chained the doors shut. So after lunch, guess what? No one could come back in. Christina, we're down to 1.5 minutes, and I want to just let you take a moment to talk to the audience and tell them why they need to donate and why this matters.
Because it could be you. And you know, there are so many times throughout history we've seen innocent people targeted by their government. And too often we sit back and we go, that's terrible, that's horrible, but we do nothing about it. We have an obligation to help these individuals, because if we don't stop this now, it's only going to get worse. And I'm also going to not only ask you to please make sure that you go and you contribute to these individuals' legal defense, but I'm also going to ask that you talk to your friends and neighbors about this as well. We need more people to be aware of what's going on. There is strength in numbers. So I'm asking you, many of us can spare with any amount, $100, $10, $500. Please help these individuals. They're innocent people who are being targeted. They're grandparents. Some of these people are probably on a fixed income, and they are being targeted by our government for fighting for your rights. So let's make sure that we're helping them out.
All right, we just got a note from the leaderboard. We're at $104,000.
Wow.
So we went over the $100,000 mark. Christina, God bless you for coming in here, and thank you for taking on the job as the MIGOP chair and for all you're doing. I know that you've had a lot of challenges, but you still, meet those challenges daily with a smile, and I know that it means a lot to these electors that you're participating here today and that you've been vocal on their behalf. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. They encouraged me for sure. Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, Eric Castiglia, check this one out, Justin.
Yeah.
Eric Castiglia of the Brighter Michigan PAC is offering 2 VIP tickets to the Tucker Carlson event on Sunday, September 10th. So it's just coming up in a few days. To the next 2 donors, you have to donate $2,024 though. $2,024, and you're going to get 2 tickets to see Tucker Carlson live. So that's out there. That challenge is out there. If anybody feels like going to see Tucker, you'll get to meet him. and you'll get to help the electors at the same time. So not only are you going to get VIP tickets to see him, you're going to meet Tucker. So for 2024 donation, you're going to get 2 tickets. So that's a little over $1,000 a person. That's doable. I'd like to see people call in and do that. You know, we had someone anonymously donate a little while ago, and I loved it. Their donation was $17.76.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people doing the right thing. Justin, what do you got to say?
Well, I was just thinking about this, man, is that you looked at that big number, and I know it sounds like a lot, and you're probably thinking at home, I don't know how much I can do. Every little bit is going to count. It'll add up. $104,000, and thinking about that number and what that actually means. In order to retain legal counsel in situations like this, how far does that go? What does it really get these people? A lot of times, just to for the attorney to actually look at the case, you're talking at least $50,000.
I know.
And these people, a lot of them are just average, everyday folks. They're just like me and you. Where are they going to get $50,000 for? That's where your money goes to today.
The other thing that's happening that I think is really sad is that they were not allowed to be tried as a group. So instead of one group of 16 people being tried, they have 16 separate trials. So every one of them needed legal counsel. Every one of them needed an attorney. Every one of them needed to put that $50,000, retainer down for their legal help. So this is a mountain for people to climb, and we really, truly need people to share this on their social media to help this go viral. It's the only way that we're going to get enough viewership to be able to pull in the type of money that we need to pull in. Go ahead, Justin.
I just, it is overwhelming when you think about it, but the fact that each one of us has an opportunity to be able to be a part of this, to take action today with breaking the piggy bank open. Maybe you bring the kids in and you make this a teachable moment and you share with them what's going on and why you care so much about this country and why this matters. The fact that you're doing it for them and with them. Break the piggy bank open, count it up, and send it over.
So now we're going to give you the opportunity to get to know one of these electors. We got a personal profile of Ken Thompson, and I think it's pretty riveting, and hopefully it moves you to try and help these people with their legal fund.
Okay, so Ken and Darlene said they worked tirelessly and come to all these events as volunteers to take the photographs so everybody can see what's going on. Ken and Darlene, just loving people. They have a very humble farm that they live off of. And, so this lawsuit is risking them losing everything. And they've been there for everybody.
I was an alternate elector for the 2020 presidential Electoral College, standing up for Donald J. Trump, and I was very proud to be honored to be selected for that opportunity. An elector is a fleeting office. It's actually a few hours service when you submit your vote for the nominee who you support. And that's what we did back on December 14th of 2020. I'm a first-generation American. My family's home country was Austria, and they were requested to leave by the same kind of governance that we now have in Lansing, a very bad governance. My grandfather's business was confiscated by the state, and he was allowed to flee the country to London, actually. And to encourage him to leave, my uncle was put in Mauthausen concentration camp outside of Vienna for 90 days. My mom and her mom, my grandmom, had to go down to Gutenführer headquarters to get my uncle released, their son and brother, from Mauthausen. And the way they got him out is the Swedish council made a phone call. He wouldn't put anything in writing to the Gutenführer, who was the head police chief of Austria at that time. And they released my uncle as an escort for children to actually Sweden. So my family was separated because of a out of control government. And here again, we face it today. So that's basically a short synopsis of why I've stood up to in politics, because if you don't take an interest in politics, the politicians certainly take an interest in us. And if our country was founded upon the reality that our rights are ordained by God, not by politicians, not by the state. So here we sit today fighting the onus of a Marxist philosophy where the state is supreme and we're nothing but serfs to it. And I'll be by golly, my family suffered once, they're not going to suffer again. So here we sit suffering the insufferable, standing up for what is right, God and country.
When I met Ken and his wife, Darlene, we just became instant friends. I knew that they were total patriots. Like I said, they were part of that Tea Party movement. So I sat and joined them for a beverage. We were up at Boyne Mountain at the Republican Leadership Conference when they used to have the conferences there in the spring. And I just sat and talked with them and just fell in love with the both of them because Ken he's intelligent. He's so intelligent. He knows the law.
These onerous charges by the Attorney General of Michigan have affected myself and family. Well, in these conditions, you find out who your friends truly are. You find out who in the family is willing to bear the brunt with you. And my wife is bearing the brunt. It's very hard on her.
Okay,
it's very
go ahead and
hard on
talk.
her. It's a very
Perfect.
dystopian disillusionment.
Okay, good.
When you're confronted with, the wrongs of the state targeting you. And the wrongs of the state is what we are confronting. We will persevere. It's not going to be an easy journey. It's a tedious journey. And it's a journey, unfortunately, we have to stand up tall to confront. And that's what we're doing. It's unsettling since this has become public. The last 10 days of August, we've done nothing but work on every day for the solution. And the solution will be, by God's grace, where we will persevere.
They're outstanding individuals, and this is not right, and they need our support so they don't lose everything they've worked so hard for all their lives.
Okay, so we're back live in the studio, and we've got a live Zoom interview with Tharon X, who is a conservative radio talk show host on Wham Radio 1600 AM. Tharon has been a big proponent and basic cheerleader for the conservative movement in the state of Michigan for years, and also is someone who's been very passionate about what's going on as far as these electors is concerned, and felt so much so that he wanted to be on our program so that he could help us raise money for the electors. Tharon, welcome, and thanks for joining our broadcast.
Thank you very much. I have to tell you right from the beginning, I have somewhat of a persistent and nagging cough. Hopefully it won't trouble us too much, but it's better than having a persistent and nagging ex-girlfriend or two, wouldn't you say?
So I think it would be great. I'm here with Justin Barclay, who just announced this new conservative station that's going to be coming up in Metro Detroit, 9:10 a.m. So it's great that we've got these two great conservative broadcasters together on the air. I wanted to give you some time to just take the ball and run with it and talk about your feelings about this whole issue and why you think the telethon is necessary and why the people out there in the audience should be supporting the electors.
Well, thank you very much for letting me take it away. This whole thing that's happening right now, I'm sure this has been subject's been broached today. It's essentially lawfare. They've weaponized the Justice Department, Attorney General's office, and the whole thing is to focus in on somebody and make the actual accusation or the trial be the punishment, regardless of any type of a conviction. And I have to tell you, I've been doing radio here for quite some time, and I was championing lawfare, but for our side, and that was when Hussein Obama was still in office, infesting the White House. And I said that we should be not doing the things they do, where we're going to go and persecute somebody, but what we should be doing is finding ways to, if we can, sue people that are doing the wrong thing. And much like the left chased Donald Trump with lawsuits all over the place. Too late. We lost. They snagged it one more time. They snagged victory from the jaws of defeat, whereas we always seem to, on our side, snag defeat from the jaws of victory. I want to say right off the bat, too, anybody picking up on this message, and you've heard this all day long, you've got to get up off some money. You've got to call in and contribute some money. This is not going to be a cheap operation. At one point, I think the goal was 50 grand. I had to laugh at that. I was thinking the probably when all's said and done, all the legal fees, when the dust settles, talking probably close to 2.5 million. I don't know, but I mean, I would think the way law goes these days. And another thing to take into consideration, you are not contributing to somebody for them. You're contributing to somebody that stood for you, and your vote. And the other thing is, these patriots that rose to the occasion, rose to the challenge, they didn't do anything wrong. They did not break the law. This has been done several times in elections prior. Nobody was prosecuted or categorized as a political prisoner. So I'm not sure where this falls out in the end if Dana Nessel hopefully is vanquished, but we need funds to fight against her and her lame prosecution of the 16.
Yeah. And this will not be the last time they do this. We're hearing about other places where they want to do this. And again, they run to your point. This isn't just about these people. This is about all of us. This is about our country and what's being done. We have a choice here. We're at that point. We get to make our choice. How do we want to proceed here? Do we want to move forward? Want to sit on the couch and just let them take over? There's nothing we can do. That's kind of the black pill way of thinking. This is all, there's nothing we can do. Or there's another way of thinking that each of us has a role to play here, and I don't care what it is. You know, today, Matt, they've got you up here. The stamina and the endurance this man has displayed today is incredible, to be able to stand up here and talk all day long. But, you know, it's important. It's because this is such a big deal and it matters. These people are going through hell right now.
They are. Their lives are being completely turned upside down. They're senior citizens on a fixed income in most cases. They can lose their retirement. They could lose their homes. They could lose everything. And if they are sentenced, I mean, we're going to be in a moment going to a video on the oldest elector, and she's, I think, 82 years old.
Yes, yeah.
And a 5-year sentence is a sentence to death. She'll die in prison. I mean, that is just unacceptable on every level for someone who signed a piece of paper in the event that there was a change in the election results and if President Trump were to come out victorious. So I can tell you that we absolutely, as a group, need to understand that any of us, if you're running for, you know, school board or city council or anything, they run, like, what has your experience been? What have you witnessed just in local politics as far as people being subdued and penalized for not marching in line like good little soldiers?
Well, first off, to Jeremy's point, and a very important one, we can never give up. That's exactly what they want. They want us saying, oh, we're defeated. And I've been saying this since day one when I heard about this, that in the back of Nessel's mind, they had to have confabbed somewhere and said, you know, it almost doesn't matter if we get a conviction. This is like a Soviet show trial. We can break these people.
Right.
We can destroy these people so that everybody else will freak out and say, I'm never doing this again. Local politics, I'm in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor. And the city council, the mayor's office, anything they can do on the left-hand wrong side, they do every single time. I mean, these are people, too, I think administrations back, that sided with the drug cartels against Jan Brewer in Arizona, 100%. So it's not good on any level right now. We've got progressives pretty much controlling the show across the board. That doesn't mean we give up. We never give up.
Right. You know, it's important for people to understand, too, that, you know, this isn't just happening here in Michigan. The state of Georgia just had 19 indictments, and one of them was a former president of the United States.
And his attorneys.
And his attorney.
Yeah.
And John Eastman, his attorney, was on the telethon earlier today. And Laura Loomer, who was across the street, literally organized a rally, and they started putting up barricades so that they couldn't have a rally across the street from the police station. I mean, the idea of suppressing free speech when it doesn't agree with what the progressives want the message to be. You know, we can have a summer where they burn down America, and we watch Minneapolis burn, and we watch Portland burn, and we were just talking to the Mikulskis a minute ago, who had 500 people on their front lawn, and because they showed their right to bear arms, they protected their home and themselves. They were almost disbarred as attorneys over it. And what I'm getting at is we need to understand that this can happen to any of us. And you got to donate to help these people so that they're not devastated. We got 30 seconds left. Tyrone, make your final plea.
Well, I was all over this on my show today, and I've been on this for quite some time. We right now, and this is not exaggeration or hyperbole, we are Soviet. We are a model of the Soviet Union, complete oligarchy, police state, top down. So I want to thank you for having me on here. I want to encourage everybody to give as much as you can to defend these people against literal fascism. That's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for taking the time and being here. Your voice is really important, and we appreciate your support for the electors. I also want to thank Justin for taking the time out of his day to be here in person and help me co-host for the last hour. It's been fun to have him here with me. And now we're going to take a moment and show you a video, a human interest video on Rose Rook, who is the oldest elector being charged. All right, coming up any moment is the video. Tyrone, thanks again. Folks, don't be afraid to, scan that QR code, call in 888-403-8550.
I will tell you, I'm just going to tell you behind the scenes, as a pro watching this stuff, these guys are working so hard today because they know how important this is.
A number of organizations locally, and Rose does a lot of charity work, a lot. She belongs to a number of organizations locally, and she is usually right in the middle of getting things done for those groups. Rose she has been a mentor to me for a long time. Her view is that her cup is half full, not half empty. She's a very loyal friend. Truthful. She is non-judgmental, and people are drawn to her, especially me. But she is, how do I want to say it? She is truthful to a fault. She has helped so many people. She greets people. Rose greets people with a smile, always, and they're just drawn to her. She has many friends here in this area, especially. I've come to love Rose a lot for her character and her kindness to me and other people, and she's a very good friend. I'm pleased to have her as a friend.
She is one of the hardest working ladies in all of Van Buren County. She's there every weekend, every day, just doing the hard work, knocking on doors, putting out flyers. She's the type of person who would give out the U.S. Constitution at the fairgrounds. She does it every year. All these felonies, all the charges, it is political gamesmanship. And they're using this to keep people like Rose Rook quiet and silent. They don't want her out working and doing the work. They want to keep Republicans scared and fearful. That's what these things are for. If you look at the Muskegon case, when you actually had people who signed voter applications and forged other people's names, those people, charges were dropped. They never went anywhere. And they said, hey, we put it up to national level, federal prosecutors. Well, they also sent Rose's case up to federal prosecutors, and federal prosecutors denied to do charges. Well, the alleged forger did not meet those standards. There was no forging of signatures. There were no fake documents. But there was a letter. There was a letter with signatures saying that they supported Donald Trump and that they were the Republican electors, and they were the Republican electors. We got to stop going after grandmas and grandpas. Rose is 81 years old. All she's done for the last 20 so many years is support local politics, support local politicians, lower taxes, more freedoms, individuality, personal responsibility. Those are the things that Rose believes in. She doesn't want to have this government that is always coming after the people. She wants people to have freedoms. And when you have prosecutors like Dana Nessel targeting and attacking people for political reasons, that disrupts who we are as a nation and as a country. Rose, we know we're always here behind you. You're our number one go-to, and we appreciate all you've done for us in this county, and we're here to support you as well. So thank you, Rose, for everything.
I have known Rose for about at least a decade now. We started as friends in our county GOP, and it has just grown from there. She's an absolutely wonderful person. She is former chair of our GOP. She has headed every committee in the county that is conservative. She's been very active as a realtor for multiple decades, in addition to everything that she's done with the GOP. She has run the GOP office for every single election where we've had a centralized office during campaign season. She is part of Founders Freedom Forum, which also has done everything from live action poll challenger training to educating our youth on the Constitution and the Founding Fathers. I mean, the list just goes on. We had one girlfriend who, her husband was very sick. He was in the hospital. We didn't know if he was going to make it. And she and I changed plans and did not go to our services that Sunday. We came to be supportive of our girlfriend who was going to be sitting alone in church that Sunday, wondering if her husband was going to make it through the weekend. She's just like that. She's a very giving, caring individual. She's got a tender heart, and she is very passionate for the coming generations. She's got kids and grandkids who are coming up, and they are the heartbeat of who she is. You know, freedom is not something that's genetically passed on. It's something that each generation has to fight for to maintain. Rose is definitely willing to give of herself, her time, her resources, the essence of who she is, to be able to fight for the freedoms that our forefathers fought and died for, to preserve for us, that we are currently enjoying, that we're currently watching being attacked and in some cases eroded. Rose is a diehard when it comes to fighting for freedom, believing in everything that America stands for. She is all about the Republican platform. She is all about the Constitution. Rose is definitely somebody you want on your team. Rose, you know that I love you. You know that we've got your back. You know that you are a gem. And I just can't even say enough about my respect for you, knowing the heart of who you are. You're very tender, but you are fierce, just like what I said. And I love that about you. I love your passion. And I wish we could multiply you all across not only our county, but the United States. We could certainly use a lot more that are just like you, cut from the same cloth.
I've known Rose from just being around Pawpaw, and then I got a little more involved in politics and volunteered. And I've gotten to know her just indirectly over time. We've grown to be friends, and that's pretty much how I've really got to know Rose. Just a great person. I mean, she was always open. Like she didn't. You always felt welcome. She was warm, friendly. You could sit down and have a nice conversation with her. You're never left out of anything. Just a God-loving, church-going, phenomenal person. Anybody would be proud to be her friend. I've done signs for her. I've helped set up events for her. I've been to her house. She's had picnics, and just over time, you don't even realize you just grow to be friends and realize what just a top-notch person she would. If the world had a lot more people like Rose Rook, it'd be a lot better place. I mean, things that are implied or said that there's anything different is just incorrect. I mean, they clearly don't know Rose, and I'm just privileged to say Rose Rook is my friend. It's horrific. I don't have words for saying how upsetting that is. It makes no sense. I don't believe anything. I don't understand. I believe, I haven't seen it firsthand, but I know she's gotten nasty calls or letters and stuff. These people clearly don't know her. She just loves her country. She's God-loving family lady. Was a great realtor. She's well known around our area, well respected, lives a good life, and for them to target her, I just struggle with that understanding. Just baffles my mind how they, she's on national news, so I can't imagine what it does to an 80-year-old person that's lived a life like hers and things she's done for everybody. If they could do this to Rose Rook, that could be me, it could be somebody else. And we don't all have to agree, but there's got to be some boundaries, right? Like you have to, there's people that kill somebody drunk driving that isn't getting charged with what this lady did, or they're saying she did, and Rose being Rose, and it just baffles my mind. She just did what she thought was right for her duty, and now they're trying to prosecute her for, I read it, trying to put her in prison at 81 years old for the rest of her life is just not warranted.
Our next guest is a real treat. Laura Loomer is a known journalist, a two-time congressional candidate, and an activist on every level for conservatism and conservative principles. She was there in Folsom County when President Trump turned himself in and was arrested, and organized an enormous rally. We're really, really grateful that she's here today to support this cause. Welcome, Laura Loomer.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for organizing this amazing telethon in support of Americans, brave American patriots who are being persecuted because they were brave enough and courageous enough to speak out against the crime of the century, which was the stolen election of 2020.
I know that you were there the day that President Trump was arrested and booked, or turned himself in and was booked. Can you give us like an overview of what your experience was and what you saw unfold?
Yeah, so I was actually the organizer of the rally in front of the Fulton County Jail for the same day that President Trump was arrested and had to turn himself in at the Fulton County Jail. And, it's a really sad day in America, right? When we're watching the weaponization of government against one of the greatest presidents, or if not the greatest president our country has ever had. And there were a lot of people there supporting President Trump. Unfortunately, just moments before the rally was supposed to start, so it was supposed to start at 10 a.m. and at 9:45 a.m., you had police officers from the Fulton County Jail actually try to shut down the rally from taking place by putting up barricades in the road. And so you see that there is really an effort, not just on the federal level, but on the state level by these radical leftist district attorneys and corrupt officials at the DOJ, or the Department of Injustice, as I like to call it, clamping down on free speech. And that's exactly what we're seeing unfold in Michigan, right? We're seeing the same thing happen in Georgia, where people who said that the election was stolen because it was stolen, and people who have provided evidence of voter fraud are now facing jail time and facing criminal charges and being accused of being false electors simply because they express their political and what is supposed to be constitutionally protected speech.
So I wanted to also ask you if you could maybe find it in yourself to maybe make a plea to our audience today in the telethon and explain to them why their contributions are so necessary in order to help defray the staggering expenses for these innocent people to defend themselves.
Well, look, it's really important that you support fellow Americans and Trump supporters that are under attack right now by the DOJ and by these corrupt, radical leftist district attorneys and law enforcement agencies that are specifically targeting people and trying to jail them and ruin them financially over their political views. And of course, it's two-tiered. So not just any political views, but they're pro-Trump views. And the legal fees that these individuals are going to face are going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not in the millions of dollars, because you're facing entities like the federal government and state governments that have unlimited resources.
And you were there when the president was released. Have you had a chance to talk to him, or do you know how he's doing, what his demeanor was that day?
Well, President Trump is really grateful for all of the support. And I was with President Trump in Bedminster in New Jersey at his club a couple weeks ago. And he's really grateful for everybody that is supporting him amid these witch hunts and these indictments. And so you see that President Trump is, a very generous and gracious person. He's always taking time out of his schedule to write notes to his supporters and to express his gratitude. And I can only imagine what he's going through right now. So I know that when I spent time with him at Bedminster, he kept on telling me over and over again just how grateful he was and how thankful he was for the people that are supporting him, which, includes me, which is, why I was meeting with him. But we just need to keep on standing strong for President Trump. Following the Georgia indictment and arrest in Fulton County, his campaign raised over $20 million. It's also really important that we remember that there's other people that have, remained loyal to President Trump who are also now suffering and being targeted as a result of these charges by corrupt officials and the weaponization of government. And we need to help them because they're not billionaires, right? They're not wealthy businessmen. And we need to make sure that everybody has a legal defense fund so that their life is not destroyed by this.
No, you're right. They're just average people like many volunteers who are passionate about their country. They love their president. They felt something was wrong with the election. They were duly elected in their congressional districts as electors and wanted to just be part of an alternate list of electors. If the pending litigation had been successful and the state would have flipped, you need to have a list of electors in the possession of the president of the Senate, or the state won't be counted. And these are not malicious people. These are not criminals. We've got an average age here in Michigan of these 16 people being in the mid-70s, and they've lost their ability to earn a living because they're retired. And this is hitting them hard financially. And on top of it, if they are put away, the one charge is a 14-year charge, the felony. They could literally be sentenced to death because they're going to spend the rest of their life in prison. So I don't know if you've got anything else that is new and developing that you want to maybe talk about today, but
that's exactly what they're trying to do to President Trump as well. They're trying to make him spend the rest of his life in prison. And I just encourage people to think, if you believe that the election was stolen and you know in your heart that the election was stolen, just know that this could be you. And just know that there could be a time in this country where you are also jailed and persecuted and falsely accused if you believe the election is stolen or you support President Trump. And so find it within yourself to reach into your pockets and try to donate as much as you can, because you would hope that people would do the same for you. And I plan on contributing as well.
Well, Laura, you're the real deal, and I can't thank you enough for your participation today. I wish you much luck in the future. And again, thank you for helping this great cause, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I hope to speak with you as well. And for people that want to follow my reports, in case you want to, get updates, or you want to see these Give, Send, Go links for these other individuals who need your help, you can go to my Twitter at Laura Loomer.
And I'm Shawn Maddox's mother. I was married right out of high school in Nebraska. I was married at 17 years old, and I had Michonne when I was 19. So I was a very young mother, a very inexperienced young mother, and I always laugh because it's like Michonne really raised me. In fact, when Michonne was about 3 years old, I realized that she was really the boss. And it was kind of it was kind of enjoyable raising her because she could always talk me out of everything. Now, Michonne's kind of a born leader. She was even at 3 years old. She was bossing me and her father around.
Became very involved in politics with Donald Trump, and I'm still proud of that. But the other part of my life is my family. I mean, my family's, you know, I know people say it, it's cliche, but it is the most important part of my life. It's why I do everything that I do.
She trained her kids by example. Her and her husband Matt, they lived what they believed, and they walked the walk. Their children saw that. They didn't let their kids by with anything. They went to church all the time. They taught their kids about the Lord. They taught their kids about right and wrong, and they taught their kids how to give back to the community. And that is what led both of them into politics. And I think that is one of the things that has always driven Michonne. She wants to do what is right. She wants to do the right thing because she really does have a higher power leading her.
I grew up knowing that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I was really fortunate. I had parents that told me that I was great, even when I was a horrific student. They told me that I could do anything, and I believed it. And part of the reason I believed it was because of the American dream, that I knew, you know, my parents came from really small towns in Nebraska. I was born in a small town in Nebraska myself, and yet I watched my mom and dad both be very successful in what they did. And so I knew that, you know, these small town kids, 17 and 19 years old, got married, and they're living the American dream. And so I knew that I could have that too. Right now, I don't know that people feel that way. I don't know that 17 and 19-year-olds feel the way that my parents probably felt, and I know that the way I felt in my 20s. It's not like doomsday talk. It's real opportunity has been lost to entire generations, and I'm fearful for all of them. And I would love to think that whatever I'm doing or any of these, I do believe that there are sacrifices. We've made some sacrifices politically, but I wouldn't do anything different. I've thought about it, and I've thought about what we're going through, and I still know that I would make the exact same choice because we did what we believed was the right thing to do all along, every step of the way. You know, we organized protests when the state was being shut down, and we had people telling us that we were, you know, horrible people there because we were going to be spreading COVID all over Michigan. And the truth is we gave people hope. And we need more people willing to stand up and speak out and not be afraid and not be intimidated. And so even though I am afraid sometimes, I'm never going to admit it, except for right now.
Well, the hardest thing about this is that it's so unfair. It's so unbelievably unfair. Even if in the end, because see, we believe that God is in power. We believe that God is in control. So we're not looking for a great answer from an attorney, or we just know that whatever happens, it's what God wants. The thing that hurts the most about this is the unfairness about it. But I do know how strong Michonne is, and she's the strongest woman I know. She's stronger than anybody that I think could go through this. And she always has that beautiful smile on her face with those sparkling blue eyes. And she says, "Mom, don't worry. I'm going to be okay, Mom." And so I've kind of given it to God, and whatever happens, it's His will. And that's what I'll accept. But I think she's going to be all right.
You know, I feel strong spiritually. I spent a ton of time in prayer. I wake up in the middle of the night and I do have fear. But I mean, that's not new. You know, I've had that before. I try to spend more time in prayer, more time leaning on God's word. And there are so many people that are praying for us. So, you know, it's taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me more where I worry about other people who care about me. I worry about my husband the most because he feels bad about it, and he's worried for me. I know he is. And so that hurts me. I feel bad that my kids have to worry and be concerned. I'm happy that I raised 3 kids that are that make light of a lot of things, and that they're also very prayerful. And, you know, they're having more fun joking about the fact that their mom has a mugshot than really worrying about anything else. You know, I worry about finances. It's taken a toll on us that way, but I know that that's part of the plan. People a lot smarter than me keep telling me that the process is the punishment. And when somebody weaponizes a legal system against people, that the process that they put you through really is the punishment that they envision. And I see that. And so, yeah, it takes a toll on me mentally, and it's taken a toll on my relationship with my husband because I worry so much about him and he's worried about me. But it has brought us closer too. Probably the saddest thing is that it's there are relationships that I have with other people. Some of them are co-defendants, and I feel like it's taken, you know, it's put those relationships in the back seat for the time being. And so I miss people. I miss some of my really good friends.
Nick, welcome to the telethon, and thank you for participating.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Right off the bat, before I ask you a question, well, I guess this is a question. Is there anything you want to say?
Well, just yes, thank you. I mean, I'm really honored to be representing Michonne Maddock in these charges. I know Michonne, know her husband Matt. We've been friends for a long time. We were together the night that Trump was elected. We were all ended up, you know, serendipitously in the same hotel lobby, and it's just wild that look how things have unfolded, and now I'm representing her in these crazy charges, unheard of, first of their kind charges ever. For this set of facts, no one's ever been charged with election fraud for signing their own name to a piece of paper. So we intend to fight this all the way. One thing I told Michonne before I chose to represent her is, you know, whether I'm representing you or somebody else, I want somebody who wants to win this and to take it the whole way. Anybody can just get you a plea, but I want to win. I believe in your innocence, and we're going to take this the whole way.
So, question, let's say you get before a jury, the jury's just throws this thing out, even if it gets that far, but let's hypothetically get to that place and a jury comes back and delivers a not guilty verdict. Does she have the opportunity at all to reclaim the legal fee? This could be, you know, just a complete drain financially, with no chance, even once you're proven innocent, of ever reclaiming the funds that you had to prove your innocence.
Yes, and that's as the saying goes, the process is the punishment sometimes, and the government will charge people criminally and overwhelm them in order to get them to spend a lot of money and their time and their resources, and to scare them. And to answer your question directly, I mean, that would be very difficult to do. You have to have a malicious prosecution claim. There's elements that you have to prove that somebody lied. It's something that would take years and be difficult. And of course, the government always has their special immunities to prevent them from paying out even when they're wrong.
So we've got this prosecutor in Ingham County who reviews what happens, and he makes the recommendation that there's nothing here, there's no there, we're not going to prosecute. Yeah. This is a big nothing burger. And now all of a sudden these charges come out, 8 counts, you know, over 80 years of imprisonment as a possibility. And
14
new evidence that came forward. What's this new evidence?
Seen any new evidence? You know, when this document was signed, I mean, the alleged crime is complete, right? It's so you have all your facts there. That this memo, I mean, it's not just from some random person or a random lawyer. I mean, this is an 18-page analysis by Andrew Stevens, who is an assistant Ingham County prosecutor at the time, laying out the facts and laying out why that there is just no case here.
File a motion to dismiss.
Yeah. So our soonest available to file a motion to dismiss, the first thing we need to do here is hold a preliminary exam. I mean, because a lot, pretty much everything in the case so far is hearsay. There's a lot of statements and opinions from people, but once you hold that preliminary exam, then you get statements on the record from people. So once those statements are made in court under oath, subject to cross-examination by both parties, then that becomes evidence. And I don't see how they're going to lay out that there was the intent to defraud anybody. And then once those facts are laid out or not laid out, then there would be grounds for a motion to dismiss, and we plan on filing on several different legal theories.
So my question is, Ms. Shawn was one of the women for Trump. She was very involved in the 2016 election and the surprise flipping of Michigan, and then again in 2020. Do you think that this is she's being targeted so that she's subdued during the 2024 election?
I think all of these charges against everybody is to tell people to shut up. Nationwide, not just in Michigan. This is the first time we've had a former president criminally indicted, and for nothing.
So Nick, the question that really I think it comes down to is, let's say Trump did win the election. You think they'd be charged?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Great point here. So if President Donald Trump won Michigan, there would be no criminal charges here. And that's a big difference, because in real voter fraud, in those examples I gave, if you change a vote, if you throw a vote out, or sign someone's name who didn't want their name to be signed, you still committed fraud and forgery, whether or not your candidate won. In this case, if Donald Trump had won, there'd be nothing. So it just shows that the emptiness of the case and how the political nature of the entire thing, and it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad indeed. And we're guaranteed equal justice under the law. So I wish you all the luck in the world, and I know your expertise is going to be a huge asset with the upcoming legal battle. And I thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us today and to support all the electors. Thanks again, Nick Sonberg. We're live back here in the studio. Nick, welcome to the telethon. We are well into hour 9. And, we appreciate all of you tuning in, telling your friends about it, making a donation, sharing this on your social media. We want this thing to go viral. We want more and more people who have huge followings to be tagged in your social media posts on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on, frank speech or truth or whatever your flavor may be. Please use your network of people to let them know that they got to go to gatewaypundit.com and watch this telethon, and also that they can donate at the givesendgo.com/Michigan Electors. There's a group of companies and people that we want to thank because they've been an integral part of this happening today. We've been streaming simultaneously with Lindell TV, and Mike Lindell has been an enormous supporter and help. So we'd like to thank Mike Lindell and Lindell TV, the My Pillow Company, and Frank Speech. Mike is a true patriot. He's literally been spending millions and millions of dollars to defend himself against bogus claims and lawsuits and harassments, and it's cost him quite a bit, and he still will not back down, and he's been part of our broadcast today and wants you to help those electors as much as anyone. We've got the Gateway Pundit, obviously. Jim Hoft has been an absolute angel to this whole process, because he has allowed us to stream on his Rumble channel for 11 hours to make a plea to you to help defray the costs of the legal bills of these electors. It's no small task, and he's been remarkable. And if you get a chance, subscribe to Gateway Pundit, support Jim Hoft. he's a good man, and he's helped a lot of people and gotten a lot of stories out there that normally you'd never know about. And lastly, I'm proud to be associated with the Michigan Conservative Coalition. We have been, actively promoting and preserving conservative ideas since 2015, even before, and very actively involved in important causes within the state of Michigan, and now even on a national level. So there's a new group that started up called the Grand New Party, and the gentleman that started this is by the name of Shane Treoch. Shane, come on, welcome to the set. Shane's been a very integral part of this telethon, and I wanted to take a minute to introduce you and let you say what you want to say to the audience about what's going on here.
Thanks for having me on, Matt. Yes, I'm with the Grand New Party PAC, and turn it on. Oh, nice.
Here, let's try this. I thought we had a light, but we do have a light. We're good. It's okay.
So, you can hear me?
All right.
No? Okay. Well, I'll talk anyway. So yeah, I'm with the Grand New Party PAC, and we are an organization that works to fight back against the institutional corruption that is happening in Lansing. We've seen that what's going on there with after the 2020 election. So many Republicans looked the other way. Even more of them were willing to go along with all of the election fraud that happened. They thought it would be good to get rid of Trump. They went along with what Dana Nessel and Attorney General Dana Nessel and Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson were saying. And you look at how many senators and state reps appeared on here today. It was a small margin, Where was everyone else? A few of them had some good reasons not to be here, but the vast majority, they're silent. They're being told by their consultants, they're being told by their advisors, not to talk about these issues because they're cowards. And we need to support the people who stand strong, like those in the Michigan Freedom Caucus. Representative Steve Cara is our chairman. Representative Jim DeSena is on our board, and those guys are the cream of the crop in Lansing right now. And we're also proud to say that our vice chair is Shawn Maddock, one of the electors who stood strong. So we pride ourselves in standing strong, and after the electors were, it was announced that they had these ridiculous charges against them. The first thing we did was thought, how do we double down? So we had our Free the Electors pool party at Michon and Representative Matt Maddock's home. We raised over $2,500 for the electors, and we're proud to give that money to the telethon to add it to the total as we get into six figures. And we're off to such a great start. It's been such a huge success, but this is just the beginning of fundraising on behalf of these electors. We have to make sure that we raise hundreds and hundreds of thousands more after this day in the weeks to come, so that all these people will have the criminal defense that they need to be exonerated. And there's none of this precedent that they're trying to set against our constitutional rights, against our free speech, make it so that we can't have fair elections in this country. That must be defeated. And that must mean that we have to give our own money. We're not going to get money from the big Republican Party oligarchs. We have to raise it from ourselves, from the small donors, from the small businesses, from the patriots of America. And I'm proud to represent that with the Grand New Party PAC, proud of to be associated with the Michigan Conservative Coalition and all the work that they've done for so many years. So we do have a core of strong patriots in this state, and we will prevail. It's going to be an uphill battle, but it was for the Founding Fathers, and we'll prevail just like they did.
Shane, thanks a lot for coming on and making your plea and all you're doing to make a difference. We have Rudy Giuliani, who's going to be coming up in the broadcast in about 6 minutes. And he has just been remarkable. As you know, he's America's mayor. I remember during 9/11 how he stood so strong for the country that was, we were devastated after the towers fell. And he was just the voice of reason and calm. And helped rebuild New York. And later on, Rudy Giuliani became a very, very important part in President Trump's legal team to try and fight the 2020 election result and so many of the things that went on during that process. So I'm excited to be talking to Rudy. I had a chance to testify with him many years ago when we were basically in front of the House Committee on Elections to talk about what we had seen down at TCF Center. Right now on your screen, you're going to see a very large QR code. And we are going to ask you to scan that with your cell phone. And that will take you to a place where you can donate. And we'd love to see you do that. We'd love to see you take a screenshot of it and maybe text it to some friends. It's important that people donate, that people help these electors. Their legal funds are going to be so over the top expensive to defend their good names, and they need our help and they need our support. You can also call in if you want to. You can call 888-403-8550, and we've got live operators on the line waiting to talk to you. That's 888-403-8550. So it looks as though we've got some good news, and I'm going to walk over to my interview spot, and we're going to toss over to this live Zoom interview with I'm being told in my ear that unfortunately Rudy Giuliani has canceled his interview with us. He had a prior commitment, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to interview him today. I can tell you that he really wanted to be part of this broadcast, and he wanted to help the electors as much as anyone, and believes strongly that they need to be supported at this point in time. Coming up, we also have Michael Voorhees. Many people of you know that he has really been an advocate for religious freedom and talks about that, and has been a great advocate and activist for that. So I think we're going to go to Seeley. How are you?
Real good. How you doing?
Good. Mike, you were such a big part of my campaign for Congress, and you endorsed me right away and did some commercials for me. And, how long is this? Supported me unequivocally, and I can't tell you how much that meant and still means to me to this day. You're always on the right side of things, and you're a real warrior.
Well, thank you. And you know, with all this, with this lawfare, with this telethon today, I can't say enough for people to support everybody, because I think I might have been one of the first, if not the first. When you talk about lawfare, I've been sued for billions of dollars. I've been attacked every day for 2.5 years now, and they just want everybody to back down. They want, a year ago today, they took my cell phone at a Hardee's restaurant. They still have it. I sued the government and the FBI, and haven't got it back, but it's all about our First Amendment right of free speech. And what they've been doing the last 2.5 years, we've learned words like standing and sanctions, and it's just disgusting what they've done in Michigan and what they this has to end, and people have to have courage. And in order for people to have courage, they need to be supported. So anybody that's watching, I can't say enough. You need to help out these people that in Michigan that have done nothing wrong. And I've known so many. I spent so much time in Michigan over the past actually 5 years. This goes back with my foundation I had in Detroit and stuff. And but everybody in Michigan, they've led the charge for our country in every way. And then to be punished for it, even with had all this election fraud and everything else, where now Michigan, where so many things seem hopeless, that's what they want to do. They want to demoralize everybody, make everybody be either put in fear or put or silence our voices. And this is why I'm so glad that you're all having this today, because our voices we are winning. Our voices are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these frivolous charges and these lawfare that's going on is someday I know we're going to look back on it and say, we're at the best time in history to be alive, because we are all this stuff that's getting uncovered. And, this lawfare is all a reaction. It's the biggest cover up for the biggest crime ever committed in history. And that's stealing our elections and our election platforms that have been just destroyed. And Michigan had so many illegal things put in by the Secretary of State there, and from dropping registered ballots out to millions of people, and it's disgusting. All these things that were put in place because of a so-called China virus, and then they try and make that into the status quo. And I know in Michigan, everybody's been fighting back, and I'm just very proud of everybody in Michigan, and everyone. I can't say enough for everybody out there that's watching this programming here on Lindell TV and Frank's Speech. Get behind get behind everyone there and support them. Everyone's always asking me, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? Well, here's your day, everybody. That's what you can do to help. All the things going on across our country, if we don't stand up for the people that are getting attacked, we can't. This is where we can't sit back and say, let's save our courage for a rainy day, or our resources for a rainy day. It's pouring outside, everybody. It's pouring outside.
It's so true. Mike, I want to ask you kind of an odd question. How are you doing? I mean, your business was so damaged by the cancel culture and the way you've been attacked. How are you doing? It's probably, if you'd have asked me this about a month ago, I would say it's just devastating. And it is. My company's been under attack after we did our big event here in August. They've been under attack every day since. And in fact, that's why I'm in Minnesota today. And we're having big emergency meetings with all my managers, from our production to our manufacturing to our call center. But they've all got a lot of faith. We know we've gotten through this far, and we just got to, we try and keep our heads up and keep the sales, doing everything we can for to keep our sales. As you know, we lost over almost half of our business, for sure a third of our business, to cancel culture and lawfare. And our money, what they've done to me is I've just poured money into this, millions upon millions of dollars. But I'm optimistic, very optimistic, because now we have a plan to secure our elections, and that plan it's in effect now. If anybody out there, check it out. It's at Frank's Speech. Get that, download the app, and go down to our election summit and check out the plan we have. This is going to secure our elections, and we've got to secure them to be proactive going forward. And so I'm very confident there, optimistic. I told that to our real president the other day too, and I'm glad that you guys are doing better and that you're coming together with this, because I just felt so awful when my pillow was under attack, because I know your heart and I know who you are as a person, and I really appreciate. I really appreciate you being here.
This is a company, or this is an employee-owned company too, and that's what really bothers me when they came after us with lawfare and attacked my pillow. The evil forces out there that attack my pillow, we're confident we're going to get through it. God wins in the end, we keep the faith.
So I'm going to ask you to make a plea to the audience. Explain to them why it's so important that they help these everyday people with these enormous legal bills, because unfortunately, none of the 16 people that have been indicted have your kind of resources or President Trump's kind of resources, and this is going to devastate them.
Right, and you bring up resource. I mean, they've taken me down just in a bigger way. I've had to borrow millions of dollars this summer. I've never been in debt like this for a long, long time. And so when and I said this before, if a citizen is charged with a frivolous, charge, And where did we have, it seems like they've thrown the rules out the window, like, where you can go get a dismissal or go do this. Well, when they weaponize the government against us, it seems like it's insurmountable, but you can't, these 16 need to be helped more than anything, because you know what? You can say, oh, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. If we're not courageous now, like I said before, and you want to help, if we don't get these people help, and to be able to get through this and win, we have to win, and we have to win. If we don't win now, there's not you don't get to have a redo. They're taking our country. They're taking our country, and this is the fight we're in. And these people that don't have the resources, like you say, that I had, I don't have anymore, but I had, and it can be devastating. You can ruin a person's life, and that's what they plan. That's what they're trying to do. So with all your support out there, these 16 can be courageous. And I think it was Marion Sheridan she did a video. I think it was her, maybe a couple other ones, and saying, this is like being punched in the gut. Like, are you going to live through it like a cancer or something? And it is that kind of fear. My employees, I compare it to like my employees at My Pillow. They were sued. They were sued for a lot of money. I mean, My Pillow is an employee-owned company. So, and they've had to, with my help to get through these 16, they need your help, everybody out there. Please, even no matter, whatever you can afford, this is where your money is going to be spent the best right now. We have to win. This is all part of the biggest battle we've ever had. This is a spiritual battle of biblical proportions. And I'll tell you, Michigan is at the tip of the spear. These 16 are at the tip of the spear. All they've been, and they've been very courageous, but they need your help and support. If you can't give anything, prayers, pray for them. Pray that they can keep the courage, and they have families. Just like I know our great real president says that he stands between, us and them. Well, you know what? It's not just him. It's all of us that have stood up and been courageous, including these 16 brave people from Michigan, and they all need help right now. Please donate, and donate.
Mike Lindell, I can't thank you enough for being here today. It means so much to all of us, and your leadership that you've shown over the years is something that we all appreciate. Everybody who's out there watching right now, go to My Pillow, buy a second one if you've already got one. Let's help support one another, because it is so critical that we stay together and we unify. Mike, God bless you and have a great day, and thank you for being part of this day for us. With that, we're going to go on to a video now for you all to watch. So appreciate you participating in donating. You can call 888-403-8550, or you can scan that QR code on your screen with your phone, take you right to the place where you donate. You can go to givesendgo.com/Michigan Electors. Nick, welcome to the telethon, and thank you for. All right, folks, welcome back to the live feed here in the studio. We're really fortunate to be joined by two great people. The first guest is a former gubernatorial candidate for the state of Michigan, and hopefully he's planning on running again. We've got Kevin Rinke here. Kevin's just, somebody who was a dynamo business entrepreneur in the auto world, and after he sold his company, decided that he was going to throw his hat in the ring to take back our government and right our state. And he ran a great campaign for governor, and he's been an activist and an all-around good guy. So Kevin, thanks for being on the telethon today. And we also have Eric Castiglia, who is the chairman of the Brighter Michigan Political Action Committee. Eric also has been the chairman of the Macomb County Republicans, and he is also someone who is very, very integral in many, many great causes and fundraising for good candidates and promoting conservative principles. So Eric, welcome.
Thank you.
Eric, I'm going to begin with you just because a little while ago, your PAC, Brighter Michigan, made a challenge and said anyone who donates $2,024 will get one ticket to, VIP ticket, I should say, to see and meet Tucker Carlson this Sunday, the 10th of September. And it should be a really incredible experience. And there happen to be 2 tickets. So if you want to spend $4,046, you'll get 2 tickets. If not, we'll take 2 individual donations of $2024. So you have anything else you want to add to that?
You know, absolutely. I am so proud to be here and support what's going on with this telethon. And I wanted to make a comment about in 1805, Michigan became a territory. In 1805. In 1837, we became a state. We had founding principles back then: popular sovereignty, republicanism, individual rights, rule of law, federalism, inequality. And if we don't stand, the events coming up on Sunday, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard, we have the biggest corporations in America fighting our event on Sunday right now to stifle free speech. And I mean, we are fighting it from the largest companies in our country. And we have Congress standing with us, and we have you standing with us. But I want one comment on this topic. The rights that we give away today and that we don't fight for today are the rights our grandchildren will never know we ever had or they ever had. I stand with everybody fighting this. You're not guilty until you're proven guilty. And we're here to support you, and we're here to fight for you. So please remember, stand strong. I know it's hard. What we're going through is hard, but we can't give up. We have to stay united. I was great to see Christine Cramo on here. I was glad to see all the other organizations on here. We have to stand united if we're going to do anything in this next election. And I know, Kevin, you have some things you want to say about that.
Absolutely. But
before
go right
ahead.
Cut away to Kevin, I just want to say again, Eric's PAC, Brighter Michigan, has got 2 tickets this Sunday for Tucker Carlson, September 10th. And he's saying for a donation of 2024, which is the year we're going to take back the White House, he is asking for that donation. And with that, you get a VIP ticket to meet Tucker Carlson and have an incredible evening. There are 2 tickets available, so if you want to buy them both, the donation is $4,046, and we really appreciate it. $48, I guess. We really appreciate that. And with that, I'd like to now cut over to Kevin Rinke, because I know Kevin's got a lot to say. Kevin, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Like the 16 people that were elected, I understand what being accused of something and having to fight through the process to prove my innocence was all about. And interestingly enough, I want people to realize that once you are charged, this stays with these people the rest of their lives. It will follow them. It will be a reference point. And unless they are proven innocent, this will be a scar or a black strike against them. And you have to realize that what the left appears to be doing, and think of the 3 branches of government real quickly. Lady Justice has a balance that she shows. And that balance means that laws should be applied equally. Now, we know, and many of the other people presented tonight, that the Democrats have had alternate electors on multiple occasions, and Republicans didn't sue them because there was no consequence ultimately to the election. They were acting in what they believed was right. What we have now is government. And remember, government doesn't have a soul. Government doesn't have a conscience. And we're seeing from the left that government may not have morals when it comes to spending taxpayer money to persecute their political opposition. And we've seen the hypocrisy, be it George Floyd riots with no prosecutions versus the DOJ going against the Trump protesters. And I'm going to say this, and some people may not like this, but both sides should be held accountable for breaking the law. Absolutely. If they broke a law. That's what America stands for. So we look at what Michigan governance is doing. And we had Dana Nessel spend over $65 million of taxpayer money trying to convict Rick Snyder of a misdemeanor. That's Republican as well as Democratic tax dollars. And it was a waste. It was a witch hunt. The Democrats need to move past the 2020 election in persecuting those who supported President Trump. We've got a new election coming up. And President Trump, as it stands today, is going to be our candidate. And I suspect Republicans should rally behind him. Independents should rally behind him because they're not blind to the injustice that's being perpetuated across America, and more importantly, for those of us in Michigan. So please, it's important not only for these 16 electors to win, but to have it recorded as a win. And we need all citizens to support these folks. Eric alluded to our Tucker Carlson event, and multiple companies have made threats against our performers, our vendors. We've had news agencies increase the price of advertising 10 times because of what we're trying to do. We're refusing to show our ads, saying they don't want our money. We've had national corporations that have literally control of the entertainment industry try and destroy and cancel this event because free speech in America, as we sit here today, is under attack.
It's so true, Kevin. And I have to say that I appreciate you taking the time to be here tonight, to speak on behalf of the electors, to talk about these issues at hand. I wish you guys great success in your event with Tucker Carlson on the 10th. And Eric, I thank you for the offer on the 2 tickets. I'm hoping that someone steps up and pays the $2,024 in a donation for a ticket. And with that, I'd like to say,
Matt, before you close this out, how about we do this? How about we do 2 tickets for $2,024? And if we sell the first pair, we'll do a second pair of tickets for $2,024.
You heard it, folks. He just doubled the offer. 2 tickets for $2,024. So you and a friend or your wife can go with you. $2,024 buys you 2 tickets and an in-person meet and greet with Tucker Carlson. It's going to be an awesome evening. And he's offering this twice now. So we got 4 people that could go if you're willing to make a pledge of $2,024. Kevin, thank you for that. We really appreciate it.
Help the electors and help come see Tucker.
Thanks again, guys. Have a great evening.
Good night now.
All right, folks, we're getting into the final hours of this thing, and right now I just want to make the same plea that I've been making all day long. I'd like you to go to givesendgo.com and basically / Michigan Electors, and you can make a donation there. If you look up on your screen right now, there's going to be a giant QR code, and you can scan that with your iPad or your cell phone, and it's going to take you right to the link so that you can make a donation. If you've already made a donation, take a screenshot of it, text it out to some friends, post it on social media, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, post it wherever you do your social media. If you are in the mood to talk to somebody, call 888-403-8550. That's our call center. And we've got some great volunteers standing by who want to talk to you and take your donation, help you out with that endeavor. And hopefully what we can see at the end of this is that we've raised a bunch of money to help these good people clear their names. We're looking at about a minimum of $50,000 per elector, and with 16 electors, that's $800,000. Now, it's been a while since we've gone to our leaderboard to see where we're at, but we're going to be announcing that total soon, and that'll be a great thing, I think, for everybody. Ultimately, your donations make a huge difference in whether or not these people may lose their retirement, they may lose their homes, they may lose their life savings, just trying to clear their names because they put their names on an alternate list of electors after being elected in their congressional district to be a presidential elector. So I have to say that the group of guests today that have come through, Kari Lake, Steve Bannon, Newt Gingrich, the McCluskeys. What an amazing story. They had 500 people from Black Lives Matter rioting in their gated community and then busted down the gate to their driveway and were on their lawn ready to burn their house down, and they stood their ground on their front porch bearing arms to protect themselves and their home and their daughter who was inside. And ultimately, we're almost disbarred for it from the Bar Association of their state for basically just trying to defend their home. It seems like lawlessness in some areas is okay, and in other areas you can do something as minimal as put your name on a list of alternate electors and face 8 felony counts with up to 80 years in prison. This isn't right, and we need to help these people. We've got a guest coming up now live on Zoom, which should be a great interview. The operators will be on and open until 10 p.m. tonight, and it makes me very proud to say we've raised $115,000 to this moment, and we're hoping that someone steps up and donates the $2,024 for 2 tickets to Tucker Carlson to meet him and be part of the event. Our next guest has been quite vigilant in protecting people's right to practice a religion of their own choice and do that freely. He has been a tiger in the sense that he will not back down. He's had all kinds of things thrown at him from every direction, and he's got a message that's powerful. Michael Voorhees, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Very good. Thank you very much for having me. It's a great honor to actually be supporting this cause. So we're very happy to do that, both personally as well as church militants. So thank you very much.
Why don't you describe to our viewers that aren't aware what Church Militant's all about and how that came about?
We're a Catholic media company that covers news at the intersection of politics, culture, religion, specifically Catholicism, very specifically, that's what we were, a Catholic apostolate, but also Christianity in general, and are trying to, particularly in these days, meaning the last 4, 5, 6 years, really trying to emphasize the intersection of politics and culture with religion. I mean, the word culture comes from the root word cult, which refers to religion. And when you have a culture that begins to jettison religion and natural moral law, every one of those sorts of things sets the stage for a loss of integrity within a society and a loss of leadership. And when that happens, there is no such thing as a vacuum of leadership, or if there is, it's very short-lived. And when people of integrity and well-grounded religious principles abdicate those positions or abandon those positions, very bad, wicked, evil people quickly rush in to take charge of that. And that's what we have now. We have that here, obviously, in the state of Michigan. We also have that in a number of states, obviously, around the country. We also have it sort of culturally, throughout all of America. And the main reason this is the case is because ultimately, this is a spiritual war. And to concentrate on simply a political solution for a spiritual war, it's not going to be sufficient. So what we think needs to be done, and what we spend an awful lot of time reporting on, both in writ large, as well as very many individual specific examples, is to sort of drive that point home, that there has been a loss of the supernatural aspect of life across the entire spectrum. And of course, that's going to drift over into politics. Not that politics was ever anything particularly holy and religious sort of on itself, but there were certainly guardrails, and those guardrails are gone now.
Yeah, it's true. You know, it's funny, as soon as you said we're fighting a spiritual war, the thunder cracked over the studio here so loud it shook the building. So evidently, the Heavenly Father loved your message. We're experiencing some weather here, so if you hear that in the background, that's what's really going on. But maybe you could take a moment to talk directly to the audience and tell them why this is so critical that they support these people who are being, devastated financially, just trying to clear their own good names.
Sure. I mean, I think when you're dealing with, this is a communist tactic. And let's just be very plain. This is a communist tactic. You have to wipe out your opposition. You go after the leaders. Every one of them has done this from time immemorial. Joseph Stalin did it. Mao Zedong did. This is what these people do. They locate the leaders, the people who dare oppose their godless, and I'm going to say it because it's what it is, anti-human agenda as well. It's not just a sort of a militant atheism, and it's not even really a political system the way we think of, you want to jettison one political system and install another. This is simply just a dictatorship. That's ultimately what communism is. And communism rejects the notion of God, puts the state in the role of God, again, the spiritual connection to all of this, and devalues human life. And anybody who dares speak up needs to be done away with. So at the moment, when they have the levers of control over the political institutions, which they do, both nationally right now, as well as in the state of Michigan and other states, when somebody pops their heads up and says, no, we're going to change this, they come after you. Now, we're involved in a couple of lawsuits of our own, actually. We're suing the city of Baltimore for trying to crush our First Amendment rights back in 2021. That so far is going very well. Expect that it will end well. Just it seems like it'll never end, but when it ends, it will end well. But this is what they do. They know they have unlimited resources. It's not their money. It's not Dana Nessel's money. It's not Gretchen Whitmer's money. It's not the Democrat-controlled Senate or House in Michigan's money. It's people's money that they have subverted the will of and don't care. I think this is the thing I think people have to understand. When the communists, which hate America, hate God, hate human life, hate all of this stuff, when they take control, if I can say it, they don't give a damn about the First Amendment. They don't give a damn about any of this stuff. They hate the Constitution. They hate America. And so they will bring all of those major forces, those powerful forces they have at their disposal, they're going to bring those to bear against individuals, knowing that they can wipe out individuals pretty darn quickly. You don't want to get into a war of attrition with City Hall or the state capitol as a private individual. Maybe if you're Elon Musk, but Elon Musk doesn't have as much money as the federal government.
It's true. And then you got to ask yourself the question: what do we do next? What is the course of action?
Well, I think specifically with regard to the 16 electors, which is what this particular telethon is all about. I think people have to reach down and say, I need to support this cause. I need to come up with the legal funds and help contribute to those legal funds to be able to do this. They were doing what they were doing to fight for justice and truth. And fighting for justice and truth is never cheap. Anybody who can look at any biblical encounter between good and evil on the human level realizes that the forces of evil, again strictly on a human level, always far outnumber, or always the more numerous, or always the more powerful forces. Truth and justice need to be fought for. As Ronald Reagan said, you have to fight for every generation. Every generation renews the fight. So in the short term, and if a specific case to help, well, here's a perfect case to help at. In the general sense, what can we as a people, we the people, do? I think we have to realize that there has been an abdication on the part of religious leaders, and coming, obviously, speaking as a Catholic, largely owing to a failure on the part of Catholic leadership. Catholic leadership, Catholic teaching is the one that enunciates very clearly all of these rights of man. Why do you have a right to free speech? Why do you have a right to a certain dignity? All of this roots back in, it may be political philosophy, but that political philosophy stems back from a theological understanding that man is created in the image and likeness of God, and that endows him with a certain dignity, the spark of the divine life, if you have it, which is why the forces of communism, which, again, let's be very plain so people understand, these are the forces of the demonic. These are the forces of the diabolical. They hate God. And anything that shows forth God, including the beauty of human life, whether it's in the womb or elderly or in some sort of nursing home or under COVID attack or anything like that, the forces of the diabolical are going to use whatever weapons they have at their power to wipe out that human life. Or at least in the broad brush, at least diminish it. They don't want the message of the good being out there. So Catholic leadership has, for a number of reasons, I don't want to get into them here, as that's not the point of this, but for many, many reasons that we enunciate over and over and over again and keep exploring and giving examples of constantly on churchmilitant.com, has abandoned the moral ship of the culture. And what that has caused is for the ship to become shipwrecked. And that needs to be understood by people. They need to understand that, you've been betrayed. We, certainly Catholics, but the culture at large, has been betrayed by the very people who, are empowered by Christ himself as the successors of the apostles to help prepare the world for the kingdom of Christ, to help prepare the world for the kingdom of God here on earth. And when those leaders abdicate or go and, look, our Lord wasn't even perfect in that sense. He picked Judas, and he knew what was going to happen, but even Jesus didn't bat 1,000. So when you're looking at all of this, you have to understand, I, as an American, as a patriot, if you're Catholic, especially if you're Catholic, but if you're a Protestant of goodwill, need to understand this great, big, giant picture of what has happened in the last roughly 100 years and accelerated in the last 60, 65 years, and now is on a record-breaking pace to hell. We've got to be able to preserve what we can and build to that. There is no political solution to this. There are political fights that must be fought. This is one of them. You don't just abandon the political flank, but you've got to understand that flank doesn't have within its own constituents the ability to be able to win the war. It's a spiritual war, and that's where it must be won. But these other types of battles must also be engaged in. We're at a war. The civilization is collapsing. We don't get to live like the way we used to. It's just that period is gone. This isn't Leave It to Beaver anymore. This is fighting to preserve the remnants of Western civilization.
And it's funny because, President Trump used to use Venezuela as an example all the time. And people would sit there and almost roll their eyes like this could never happen to us. Talking about how they have the greatest oil deposits of anywhere in the world, the greatest diamond deposits of anywhere in the world, the greatest mineral deposits of anywhere in the world. They were one of the richest countries in the world, and now the people are completely destitute and hungry because They can't even put food on their table because of what happened to their government, and they've allowed that to happen. And we can't do the same thing.
We have allowed this to happen. Good always has the upper hand as long as it's on the offense. It always does, because it brings with it its own natural force of the good, which is God. Ultimately, the good is God.
Right.
And it always brings that with it. And that is an irresistible force when it's presented correctly. It will always vanquish the enemy. You read at the beginning of the Gospel of St. John. The light shined on in the darkness, and the darkness could not overcome it. Light and darkness they're opposite forces, but they're not equal opposite. Light is more powerful than dark. Dark doesn't descend around a candle and put it out.
Right.
The candle scatters the darkness. And I don't think enough people who care about all of these sorts of things really see these big picture items. It's a battle against the forces of evil, and evil because it has mounted this massive campaign on 1,000 different battlefields along a big giant front, at the moment has the upper hand. And
Michael Voice,
look, a lot of people are going to suffer through this.
I've got to tell you that I appreciate you coming on, and I love your message. People can go to Church Militant, and they can see what you have to say. Do you have a podcast or broadcast that they can check into?
Sure. My particular one on churchmilitant.com, the show I do every day, little episodes about 6 or 7 minutes long, is called The Vortex. We've been doing that I've produced almost 4,000 of those since 2008.
That's amazing.
We have lots of programming on Church Militant. It all talks about all of this kind of thing. How is the faith? How is spirituality? How is all of this relevant to the giant battle we see here going on in the political realm, to silence voices of good people who have no other love than for the truth and justice. And those are the very things that Satan and his entire hellish minions want to knock off. And
with that, Michael Voice, I want to say thank you so much for joining our broadcast. God bless you, and have a wonderful evening, and thank you for participating.
Thank you very much, and good news raising that much money for them. That's great, tremendous.
So we are entering the final hour of our broadcast. We've got some great videos coming up ahead. We're going to educate you a little bit by letting you get to know some of the electors. We are going to let you see some of the bigger names in U.S. politics that are weighing in on this. We've got legal minds that will give us legal opinions. We tried to entertain you earlier with a guy by the name of Shawn Farash, who is just a great Trump impersonator. But ultimately, tonight, what this is really about is raising money to help 16 people who have been charged with 8 felony counts and are facing 80 years in prison, and they need our help in order to be able to afford their legal bills. You can go to givesendgo.com/Michigan Electors. You can look on your screen, and we'll put up a big QR code. You can take your cell phone or your tablet, and you can scan that QR code, and it's going to take you directly to the place where you can donate. If you've already donated, you can take a screenshot of that, text it to some friends, post it on social media. You can also call into our call center, which will be open till 10 tonight, 888-403-8550. There are some lovely volunteers on the standby, hoping you'll call 888-403-8550. Donate now. And here's a video. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for that incredible graphic you made, cartoon for promoting our telethon today. There you are.
It's on now. Somehow it got undone, but my pleasure. This is a really good cause to put forth an effort on, and I couldn't have said it any better than Newt or Mike Lindell. So thanks for allowing me to be a part of it.
Well, we want to thank you. I mean, your artwork, and I view it as artwork, is world famous, and having that cartoon for this telethon was really special. I know that at some point we're going to be able to put it up on the screen, but it was something we've been using and sending to people and promoting with, and really it does show that, you know, here you've got this, you know, old elector with their walker on the ground under the boot of the Attorney General of Michigan. It's pretty powerful stuff. Have you ever seen anything like what we're going through here?
Never. I was engaged in politics back when Reagan came on the scene. I was young, and I think he was the first president, or the first time I voted. And I've seen it deteriorating somewhat, but it would kind of ebb and flow. It'd go up and down, and the pendulum would swing. But it appears like the pendulum started to swing back our way, and they, through lawfare and all the other things that they're doing, they seem to stop it. And we need to get the pendulum swinging back our way. Right. And it's a disaster. I mean, at every level, legally, politically, woke. To me, it's just an extension of the long march through our institution, Marxist long march through our institutions, through education. You name it, they're doing it, and we need to figure out a way to stop it. And today is one of the things we can do to stop it.
Absolutely. I know that your political satire, cartoons, artwork, you know, the beauty you create is also very edgy. Have you had any problems with the weaponization of the legal system over statements you make in publications?
Well, I've been attacked. I've been attacked by all of them, MSNBC, CNN, you name it, any leftist magazine. They've attacked some of my cartoons, and I'm sure Joe Dan has been attacked as well. Him and I have a podcast that we do every Thursday called Cartoons Etc., where we show videos and we show some of my cartoons of the week, and we expand on that very thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad that you have not let it discourage you or make you give up. In Absolutely. Fact, I think it's probably...
It makes me more resilient.
Yeah, more resilient, more emboldened. And that's really very, very important for all of us, a lesson to learn. Is Joe Dan available to add to the interview? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that. Once he comes
Joe Dan's
in,
microphone's off, I think.
Okay. And all right, we're gonna do a little technical stuff here, folks. So I'm gonna ask you to be patient with me while
his mic is muted.
While we unmute him.
I think he has to go over and unmute it.
Yeah. All right. And I guess in the meantime, while that's taking place,
there he is.
Yeah, there you are, Joe Dan Gorman. Welcome to the telethon.
Hey guys, you know what? I think this is just absolutely awesome what you're doing here. And I think if you step back and see what what MAGA is doing across the board, I'm proud to be part of it. I mean, you look at the culture wars with our music and our movies, and what we're Bud Light and Bed Bath and Beyond, and now we're fighting back. And Sundance made a point that this is not, we started as the Tea Party, and we're kind of still the Tea Party. We're the Trump Party. But now MAGA, we've learned lessons, and we're going to get them. We're going to win. But anyway, I think this is amazing what you guys are doing. And Newt Gingrich, I was enjoying listening to him. that was nice of him to be our backup band.
Yeah, I know. I said, listen, you're going to have to warm up for Joe Dan and for Tony. And he knew was more than good to go to the task. Is there anything that either one of you guys would like to say to the audience about how these common everyday people that literally just tried to do their duty by protecting our vote and putting in an alternate list of electors in the event that the pending litigation and investigations overturn the state in favor of President Trump, that are now being faced with 8 felony counts, up to 80 years in prison, and just insane legal fees. Take it away, both of you guys.
Well, it's the process. They don't. I don't even think they care whether or not they're totally found guilty and have to rot in prison. It's the process that they're using to destroy them. It's the amount of money they have to spend to defend themselves. That is all they're about. They're about destroying their opposition. And like Mike Lindell said, you can't wait for a rainy day because it's pouring right now. We all got to stand up and fight.
Yeah, you know, this lawfare is just the dirtiest thing you can do. I actually experienced a fraction of this years ago, and where they just kept dragging me into court. I mean, there's nothing like this, but it zapped all my money in no time. And then, you know, so this is just evil stuff. But again, I am optimistic, even though, and I see what the youngest one of the Michigan group here is 55. And you had an 82-year-old vet. My God.
It's so sad. And, you know, the reality of it is what you guys are saying is, I think, the real strategy. And that is that the punishment comes through the process. They don't care if they get a verdict or not. It's more about you just being terrified, your family being disrupted, your financial security being taken from you. And let's face it, when you're in your 70s and you're retired and on a fixed income, these legal bills are devastating. I mean, people can lose their homes. And if they are found guilty by just some crazy circumstance, at that age, if you go away for 5-10 years, it's a life sentence. This is very serious.
I think you guys are both right. They don't care about the outcome. What it is, they just want to have all these things scheduled. They file this lawsuit, and then they can keep scheduling stuff and get to the other side of 2024. Their mission is accomplished. Yeah, we're not going to do it. We're not going to let them do it.
Right.
And it's all about intimidation.
Yeah,
it was said earlier. They're trying to intimidate us from even trying to run for office. See, this is what can happen to you if you become a Trump lawyer. This is what can happen to you if you become a mega congressman. These are the intimidation forces. It comes right out of the Marxist handbook, and all of it. All these Soros, and I have to reiterate, George Soros prosecutors. They don't, like Joe Dan just said, they don't care about the outcome as much as they care about prosecuting and destroying people.
Hey, can one of you guys give us a plug so that people know where they can hear your show and stay connected with you guys?
Do it, Joe Dan. Do it.
Yeah, we got every Thursday night. Branko hosts a show, and he has a extremely handsome co-host, and it's called Cartoons, Etc. Comes on at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday nights, and I'm at intellectualfroglegs.com.
Yeah. Joe Dan puts out the most awesome videos you've ever seen. I every one of them I have to watch 5 or 6 times, and I enjoy it every time.
You guys,
if somebody wants to see my cartoons, they can go to Comically Incorrect. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on Twitter. I'm on all of them. So
that's awesome. You guys, you've done good work. We just had a huge donation of $1,500 come in from Jeanette, and she loves your artwork, and it's for art, and we really appreciate
Jeanette.
that.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeanette. All right.
All right.
Here we go.
Well, we're going to keep this thing going. Guys, I can't thank you enough for being here today. Your support and your participation means a lot. You guys are national figures, and people look up to you, and the fact that you took the time to be concerned about these everyday people in Michigan means the world. And hopefully we can come together as a group and support all of the different states so that ultimately attorney generals and prosecutors understand that we're going to band together and we're going to make sure that we have each other's back.
You bet.
Got it.
Well, we're
Thank
here for you.
All right. God bless.
God bless.
You know, this next guest we have, he does hands down the best imitation of Donald Trump I've ever heard. And with that, I'd like to ask that we all welcome Shawn Farash. Shawn, can you hear me? I'm not unmuted. Now you are. Shawn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Welcome to the program, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. The other night, I saw a video of you. President Trump had just released his mugshot, and you went off to imitate him with him standing next to you. That was priceless. How did that all unfold?
So this was the meeting happened at an event in Bedminster and this is a great cause that what we're doing here, trying to raise money, obviously, for these electors who are being railroaded by an out of control, weaponized justice system. We have to put a stop to that first and foremost. And I've been trying to make calls to everybody around the political sphere, especially people who we consider on our side, even if they're not choosing our candidate in the primary, that the weaponization of government is terrible. And so we were at an event for January 6thers in Bedminster, another group who has been, put in the crosshairs of a weaponized DOJ and weaponized federal government. And we were there. The Patriot Freedom Project was putting this on, and he was in the room. And next thing I know, I'm being called on stage to kind of do a little bit for him, and he seemed to enjoy it. It was a late night. He seemed to enjoy it a lot. We extended his hand for a handshake, obviously took the opportunity, told me it was very good. And that was really fun. But obviously the cause was more important there. And I'm happy that everybody saw that. And that's what I kind of like doing with this impersonation and kind of some of the funny skits that I'll put together on the internet. I want people to laugh and we can put our feet up and kind of relax. But I want people to also understand that while what I may be doing is funny, we need to be paying attention to the issue at hand here, right? Whether it's January 6th, whether it's these Michigan electors who need our help, because this could be any of us. It could be any of us at any time. And so, that's the goal of what I try to do. And obviously, I try to be a very serious commentator, every day on LFA TV. It's our show. It's called Ungoverned, and we talk about all these different issues all the time. And try to make sure that people understand what's actually happening in the country, because, we can't just sit idly by while a group of people are politically persecuted if we don't think that's going to wind up on our doorstep as well. We can't just sit idly by. Ask Moms for Liberty. They became domestic terrorists simply for attending school board meetings and protesting education, problems that were happening in the public school system. So, my biggest message to everybody is we have to just pay attention. We've got to make sure that if we see the government, acting and getting out of control and just throwing people, throwing the entire system and the kitchen sink at them, like what's happening in Michigan to these electors, which the Democrats have done for a very long time, that we all have to take a stand together in unity to stop it from happening in the future, or one of us will be next one day. And we just can't let that happen.
Amen. Listen, I want you to give the audience a little sample. If you want to use that mugshot routine, that would be great. Whatever you feel like saying, but I want a lot of people to hear what you do because you're so good at it.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I didn't hear that. It broke up.
I was hoping you could give the audience a sample of the other night when you gave the president a hard time about his mugshot.
Well, the meeting happened, I think I was maybe a day or two before the mugshot came out. But what I said about the mugshot was great. What I decided to do was, they took a mugshot. It's a beautiful mugshot. It's the Mona Lisa of mugshots, and a lot of people don't know about it, but they see. the Mona Lisa. They consider it a work of art. And the only thing that could possibly be more beautiful than the Mona Lisa is probably a picture of me. Everybody understands that. Everybody wants to see that. It's a beautiful mugshot. It's the Mona Lisa. And when I looked at Mr. President on the stage, I told him he's doing a fantastic job. And I said to him, we're going to help him win in a landslide, a bigger landslide than Chris Christie after a night at Taco Bell, which is a pretty bad landslide when you look at it, because you know what Taco Bell can do. And he thought it was hysterical. And, but the mugshot is beautiful. Everybody's talking about it. People are wearing the shirts, beautiful shirts. And we even made a post on X. You saw that. We even made a post on X. They called it Twitter. Now they call it X. And we raised a lot of money because people are tired of it. Quite frankly, they're tired of it. But they love the mugshot. It's a beautiful picture, believe me.
That's incredible. So we have you coming into Michigan on the 28th, 29th, and 30th to do some shows for the Michigan Conservative Coalition. I just want you to know that you must have inspired some people out there, because the tote board just went over $55,000 so far. This is hour 3, and we've got 8 more to go, and we're far away from our goal, folks. We've got to work harder, and we've got to get more people engaged. You need to share this on your social media. Shawn, I'm going to ask you to just take the ball and run with it. Make a plea to the audience and tell them why it's so important that they donate today.
Sure. So to everybody who's watching and kind of checking in on this telethon right now, I want you to understand something. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. The left and the Democrats will never pass their own tests, and that's the enemy that we're up against. We can't expect them to ever live by any specific set of rules or standards, specifically standards that they set for us. Challenging elections is like their hobby. It's what they like to do. It's something that they have been doing for a very long time. Look at Bush Gore in 2000. Look at 2016. How many of them called Donald Trump an illegitimate president? Look at Hollywood and their pressure campaigns to leverage the Electoral College, to subvert the will of the people. Look at what the Obama administration did to the incoming Trump administration, spying on the transition team and then spying on a sitting president and then launching impeachment campaigns because they had to cover up what was about to be uncovered in Ukraine. And when you look at what the Democrats have done to our side, what they've continued to do to us, and now what they are doing to all of these, they call them fake electors. No, they're alternate electors. It's something that the Democrats have done every single time they've lost an election. It is completely legal. And now we're finding a weaponized system fit to serve a narrative to bring about the destruction of the United States of America, being leveraged against people as old as 80 years old, threatening people like that with jail time, without the financial resources necessarily to fend for themselves and defend themselves against this evil system. So it's very important to understand that if all of us together as Americans just take a stand, forget about the prisoner's dilemma. Don't worry if the person to the left or to the right of you are going to stand up together. They will. Trust me, they will. People are tired of it. Stand up with one another, link arms with one another, with each other, donate to this cause today and be a part and be a force to be reckoned with in this system going forward. Because if we don't, and we continue to give ground to the left, we're not going to be living in a country that we're proud of anymore. I'm not proud of what this country is doing to people like the Michigan electors. I want to stop it. That's why when I was asked to become a part of this telethon, I said, absolutely, unconditionally, let's make it happen. You got to make it happen, folks. We're working hard. I know that $55,000 have already been raised. We've got to double, we've got to triple, we've got to quadruple that. Let's not just hit the goal. Let's exceed the goal. Let's show everybody that we are not to be messed with. Please get out there, donate to this fund today, donate to this cause today. Give these electors some hope, and give the country as a whole some hope that if you take a stand against us, we will push back that much harder. Plus one, we will win in the end.
Well, what's great about it too, Shawn, is the fact that, this could be the one thing that finally unifies Republicans again, because, the media and the left have worked so hard to cause a wedge between the MAGA movement and the establishment. And maybe this is somewhere where we can find common ground as a party again and understand that we are all in the crosshairs and that they want our party to fall apart. They want people to be afraid to campaign for Trump. They want people to be afraid to run for office. They want people to be afraid to just exercise their First Amendment rights. I mean, there's a lot on the line here, wouldn't you say?
I would say 100%. And whether you're a member of the establishment, there are plenty of them who are out there who are trying to take shots at Trump and at these electors and at some of these people who find themselves in the crosshairs, or you're a MAGA supporter. I sit here next to a MAGA hat all day long, right? I do this show all the time. We do it, Monday through Friday. We have a great time with it, but we're MAGA, okay? Whether you're like me or you're somebody who is a more traditional old school Republican, you're not immune to the left. There is no vaccination against tyranny. There's no vaccination against the police state. When they get people like me out of the way, they're coming for you. And this is not one of those things where if you just outrun your slowest friend, the bear will eat him or her and you will escape. This is a different type of bear. It's a different type of animal. They are coming for anybody who steps even a little bit out of line. This is not one of these animals, these bears, these monsters that has an appetite that can be satisfied. This is an appetite, as I call it, it's like an appetite like Chris Christie, can never be satisfied. You know what I'm talking about? They're never going to stop. They're never going to stop. So whether you believe taking shots at Trump or these electors or any of these people, January 6ers who find themselves in the crosshairs, if you think that's going to somehow call off the dogs from coming after you, you're so wrong. You're just so wrong about that. Just realize we don't want to live in a country with a weaponized justice system against any party. If we were weaponizing the justice system against the Democrats and the left and treating them unfairly, folks, I promise you, I'd be taking the same stand saying, no, that is not what makes this country great. That is not what makes us stand out from the rest of the world. We don't want to live in this type of country. Whether you're an establishment person, whether you're a centrist, an independent, or even a liberal, you should realize that what's happening right now is a disgrace. It's terrible what they're doing to just people just doing their civic duty out here in Michigan. Don't let them continue. The left made this line famous in the summer of 2020. Silence is consent, right? They said, if you're not talking about racism, you're giving it permission to continue. Well, that was, BS. Okay. We're not going to, that was one way to say it. It's nonsense. But in this case, silence is consent. If you're not going to take a stand, if you're not going to donate, you got to do something to put an end to this. I don't care where you fall on the spectrum. What's happening is wrong. You know it's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. So contribute to this cause and make sure that we right those wrongs. One step at a time, $1 at a time, one donation at a time.
I remember when Dan Aykroyd used to impersonate Bob Dole. And he'd always have the pen in his hand and he'd be like, I know it, you know it, and the American people know it. And, it's kind of like the way that all of this has unfolded. It's so serious. It's hard to, revert to a little bit of levity. But at the same time, we all need it. We need a break. We've been at, on the battlefield, really, for justice for many, many years. And we thought when 16 happened and President Trump was elected, that ultimately we would be able to take a breather. And instead, we went right into Russiagate. And, the prosecution of Mike Flynn, and then the recusement of Jeff Sessions, and then Russiagate, and then the Mueller investigation, and then Paul Ryan and the Republicans wouldn't even fund the border wall. And it just seemed to never, ever end. And, they're doing everything they can to tie up President Trump in the legal system now to make his candidacy unviable. And now the way that they're handling that is they're going to swing states and they're attacking the people that are the true ground game for the president. And, basically punishing them financially with this legal action. So will you please plug your program so people can find you and hear you? Because I think that you've got a lot to say and you're very articulate.
Well, thank you. I think everybody who knows me personally would agree that I definitely always have a lot to say. Sometimes it's to my own dismay, but I appreciate the opportunity. If you want to find the show, it's called Ungoverned. It is on Rumble only. because the only free speech platform on the internet, rumble.com. The channel is called LFA TV, Lima Foxtrot Alpha TV. Rumble.com/LFA TV. Give the channel a follow. We're on every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. Eastern. If you can't watch it live, and the live chat is so much fun. We have so much fun in the live chat, folks. It's incredible. If you can't join the live chat, just watch it afterwards. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us a comment. You can get in touch with our show. We are having such a great time with it. We're making so many great connections through it, and it's really growing and exploding. We welcome you to the party. Come in. Please drop a like or something or a comment in there tomorrow. If you came from the telethon, let us know that you supported the great electors in Michigan. Thank you for the opportunity to the Gateway Pundit for helping put this on. Michigan Conservative Coalition. We'll see you in a couple weeks up there. So excited for it. Excited to see all of our new friends that we're going to make throughout this process.
No, it's going to be awesome to have you come up and do shows all over the state of Michigan. We're really excited about it. And some of the theaters you're going to be performing in are really cool. So it's going to be a great opportunity if people want to go. You can go to MichiganConservativeCoalition.com and check out September 28th, 29th, 30th here in Michigan. Shawn Farash, great comedy show, President Trump impersonator. And I think that he's a lot like George Carlin, and he's going to have some commentary that makes you just think a little bit. And that to me is always makes the shows way more interesting because there's a point to what you're trying to say, and there's a purpose to it. And you're doing great work, and you're a great patriot.
Thank you.
Is there any other upcoming performances you'd like to plug? We've got about 2 minutes left in the interview.
Well, no, I think let's just focus on less about me and more about this cause, right? The electors need our help. I appreciate everybody who is very, they're supportive of everything, and we're excited about what's going to happen in Michigan. We're focused on that towards the end of the month in Detroit. I do want to say that it was the ultimate compliment, by the way. George Carlin, my favorite comedian, a guy who is not just funny, but it's just unbelievably smart, prophetic in many cases, taken from us too early. I can only wish to be as efficient as he was and as effective as he was as a messenger, in his comedy. I can only dream of doing that. But again, I want everybody who's watching, I appreciate all of the compliments and all the shares and all the likes and all the views. Let's turn them into dollars. Let's turn them into donations. Let's turn that into real, tangible, feasible help for these electors in Michigan. That's what we're all here for. That's what I want to see happen. I want to know that we exceeded the goal today. I want to know that when some of these other interviews jump onto this telethon, that the board moves again. I want to see so many great things come from this cause. I want there to be a message felt throughout the entire country. I want people to realize that if you come for us, we will stand with each other. We will back each other up. We will have each other's back, and we will make sure that at the end of the day, no weaponization of the government against us can cause us to be submissive and cause us to be silent. We will never lay down. We will never give up. We will never surrender. I say it all the time on the show. Compliance is surrender. Do not comply. Do not surrender. Please donate. Please help these electors. And we'll see you in Michigan in a couple of weeks.
So we just got a $2,300 anonymous donation. Shawn Farash, thank you so much for coming onto the program today and supporting this. You guys, please look up his show on Rumble. He's an amazing guy. He's coming to Michigan in a couple of weeks. And God bless. Have a great day, and thanks for being here.
And I'm a Sean Maddox's mother. I was married right out of high school in Nebraska. I was married at 17 years old, and I had Michonne when I was 19. So I was a very young mother, a very inexperienced young mother, and I always laugh because it's like Michonne really raised me. In fact, when Michonne was about 3 years old, I realized that she was really the boss. And it was kind of enjoyable raising her because she could always talk me out of everything. Now, Michonne's kind of a born leader. She was even at 3 years old. She was bossing me and her father around.
Became very involved in politics with Donald Trump, and I'm still proud of that. But the other part of my life is my family. I mean, my family's, I know people say it's cliche, but it is the most important part of my life It's why I do everything that I do.
She trained her kids by example. Her and her husband Matt, they lived what they believed, and they walked the walk. Their children saw that. They didn't let their kids by with anything. They went to church all the time. They taught their kids about the Lord. They taught their kids about right and wrong, and they taught their kids how to give back to the community. And that is what led both of them into politics. And I think that is one of the things that has always driven Michonne. She wants to do what is right. She wants to do the right thing because she really does have a higher power leading her.
I grew up knowing that there wasn't anything I couldn't do. I was really fortunate. I had parents that told me that I was great, even when I was a horrific student. They told me that I could do anything, and I believed it. And part of the reason I believed it was because of the American dream, that I knew, my parents came from really small towns in Nebraska. I was born in a small town in Nebraska myself, and yet I watched my mom and dad both be very successful in what they did. And so I knew that, these small town kids, 17 and 19 years old, got married, and they're living the American dream. And so I knew that I could have that too. Right now, I don't know that people feel that way. I don't know that 17 and 19-year-olds feel the way that my parents probably felt, and I know that the way I felt in my 20s. It's not like doomsday talk. It's real opportunity has been lost to entire generations, and I'm fearful for all of them. And I would love to think that whatever I'm doing or any of these, I do believe that there are sacrifices. We've made some sacrifices politically, but I wouldn't do anything different. I've thought about it, and I've thought about what we're going through, and I still know that I would make the exact same choice because we did what we believed was the right thing to do all along, every step of the way. We organized protests when the state was being shut down, and we had people telling us that we were, horrible people there because we were going to be spreading COVID all over Michigan. And the truth is we gave people hope. And we need more people willing to stand up and speak out and not be afraid and not be intimidated. And so even though I am afraid sometimes, I'm never going to admit it, except for right now.
Well, the hardest thing about this is that it's so unfair. It's so unbelievably unfair. Even if in the end, because see, we believe that God is in power. We believe that God is in control. So we're not looking for a great answer from an attorney, or we just know that whatever happens, it's what God wants. The thing that hurts the most about this is the unfairness about it. But I do know how strong Michonne is, and she's the strongest woman I know. She's stronger than anybody that I think could go through this. And she always has that beautiful smile on her face with those sparkling blue eyes. And she says, "Mom, don't worry. I'm going to be okay, Mom." And so I've kind of given it to God, and whatever happens, it's His will. And that's what I'll accept. But I think she's going to be all right.
I feel strong spiritually. I spend a ton of time in prayer. I wake up in the middle of the night and I do have fear. But I mean, that's not new. I've had that before. I try to spend more time in prayer, more time leaning on God's word. And there are so many people that are praying for us. So, it's taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me more where I worry about other people who care about me. I worry about my husband the most because he feels bad about it, and he's worried for me. I know he is. And so that hurts me. I feel bad that my kids have to worry and be concerned. I'm happy that I raised 3 kids that are that make light of a lot of things, and that they're also very prayerful. And, they're having more fun joking about the fact that their mom has a mugshot than really worrying about anything else. I worry about finances. It's taken a toll on us that way, but I know that that's part of the plan. People a lot smarter than me keep telling me that the process is the punishment. And when somebody weaponizes a legal system against people, that the process that they put you through really is the punishment that they envision. And I see that. And so, yeah, it takes a toll on me mentally, and it's taken a toll on my relationship with my husband because I worry so much about him and he's worried about me. But it has brought us closer too. Probably the saddest thing is that it's there are relationships that I have with other people. Some of them are co-defendants, and I feel like it's taken it's put those relationships in the back seat for the time being. And so I miss people. I miss some of my really good friends.
The day-to-day stress about living like this, I've described it to people as being diagnosed with cancer. I think that's probably what it's like. You just don't know if you're going to survive it or not. But of course, you turn much closer to God at times like this.
I feel strong spiritually. I spend a ton of time in prayer. I wake up in the middle of the night and I do have fear. But I mean, that's not new. I've had that before. I try to spend more time in prayer, more time leaning on God's word. And there are so many people that are praying for us. So, it's taken a toll. It's taken a toll on me more where I worry about other people who care about me. I worry about my husband the most because he feels bad about it and he's worried for me. I know he is. And so that hurts me. I feel bad that my kids have to worry and be concerned. I'm happy that I raised 3 kids that are that make light of a lot of things and that they're also very prayerful. I worry about finances. It's taken a toll on us that way, but I know that that's part of the plan. People a lot smarter than me keep telling me that the process is the punishment. And when somebody weaponizes a legal system against people, that the process that they put you through really is the punishment that they envision. And I see.
Well, in these conditions, you find out who your friends truly are. You find out who in the family is willing to bear the brunt with you. And my wife is bearing the brunt. It's very hard on her. It's very harsh on her. It's a very dystopian disillusionment when you're confronted with the wrongs of the state targeting you. And the wrongs of the state is what we are confronting. We will persevere. It's not going to be an easy journey. It's a tedious journey, and it's a journey, unfortunately, we have to stand up tall to confront, and that's what we're doing. It's unsettling since this has become public. The last 10 days of August, we've done nothing but work on every day for the solution. And the solution will be, by God's grace, where we will persevere.
Well, you just got to keep a really positive attitude. And I always kind of try to look on the bright side of things. And I just have this feeling like God never puts anything in your way that he thinks that you can't handle. So obviously, God thinks that I can handle this. And I know in my heart, God has my back, and if God has your back, that's all you need.
Well, welcome back, folks. We're here live. We're at the very end of this 11-hour broadcast. It's been an incredible journey. Met some amazing people, interviewed some amazing people, and I just want to say that we are starting to get some statistical data as to where we're at. I want you to know that the donations for this and the videos are going to continue on and continue to play over the next week. So there will be opportunities for you to share this with other people or go back and see some of the interviews that we had if you'd like them. We were able to raise just about $125,000 tonight. And we were keeping tally of the number of donors. We had almost 1,500 donors. And we had actually over 300 people record a prayer on our line for the electors. And I think that's really touching and really special, don't you?
Absolutely.
So for those of you who don't know, this is Patty, and she was the one who came up with the idea of doing an old school telethon for the electors to raise some money. And it's been a labor of love, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been a labor of love, and it's been a real learning experience for all of us, because I think what people don't know that are watching this telethon, maybe by now they do, is that we're all volunteers here, right?
Yeah.
So while we have professionals that are working on the crew and, you know, behind the scenes, the rest of us are just, you know, volunteers that are just trying to wing it. And so so we appreciate especially all the support that we got from the crew working behind the scenes. They are professionals, but they're also volunteering their time for this. So that's also important to note, because this beautiful studio that we've been given access to, this was given to us as a gift for today, and it truly was a gift.
Thank you, Jeremy and the Man Cave.
Yeah, absolutely. So they do their own podcast here, and we can mention the name of the podcast for them. This is my brain. So they do their own podcast. This is my brain. Hopefully you'll turn in. They're conservative patriots, and so we can't thank them enough for offering the studio to us and giving us this opportunity. And then of course, you know, we'll thank everybody later.
Absolutely. And we always got to thank the big kahuna up there, Bill. Bill, thanks for playing Papa Bear and helping us all get through today. And we're hoping to go into a live Zoom with Jim Hoft of Gateway Pundit to just kind of wrap up for the day. I don't know if that's going to happen or where we're at with it, but we sure would love to talk to Jim if it's possible. We're also going to just have a little bit of a finale where we have Shane come up and read the names of volunteers at the call center and volunteers in the studio. And it looks as though we may be queuing up a Zoom. And that would be great because, you know, Patty and Jim have a very special relationship. And it was through that relationship that Jim was willing to allow us to hijack his Rumble channel for the entire day to help these good people. And if you haven't given yet, you still have the opportunity. Scan the QR code that's on the screen. Call 888-403-8550. Go to givesendgo.com/Michigan Electors. And also post it all on your social media. And with that, we'd like to pull the great Jim Hoft into our Zoom studio so that we could talk to him and thank him personally. Jim, what a remarkable day it's been for us, and it's all been made possible by your generosity.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're very kind. It certainly was my privilege to take part in any of this. I think it's a great cause. I support these people 100%. It wasn't easy for me to say yes when Patty suggested that she wanted to do a telethon, and I congratulate you guys. You did so much work on this. I know that because I was behind the scenes a little bit, saw a lot of the stress that was going on, and it's not easy.
Stress? What stress, Jim? This was a walk in the park.
Right. Well, I know it's not easy to put something like this together, so it's great success. I see that you've raised $100,000 and $106,000 so far. That's
actually,
fantastic.
if you take a match donation from one of the people and then some checks that have come in and one other place, it's just under $125,000, and we're hoping that people are still donating now. So it was a good day and it was successful. I know that Patty's got some things she wants to say to you, so I'm going to shut up.
Well, I just mostly wanted to say I think that Jim Hoft is probably the most unappreciated hero in America right now. I mean, he puts himself at great personal risk on a daily basis to bring the truth to America that nobody else will. I started in the news business because I was so inspired by Andrew Breitbart and by his fearlessness and by his willingness to walk toward the fire, which is what he always said. And Jim just completely embodies everything that Andrew Breitbart was about. He walks toward the fire. When there's a story that nobody else is willing to publish, like the story that we recently worked on together regarding the Michigan State Police report in Muskegon, quick to say, we need to do this. We need to put this story up, even though we knew that there were certain risks involved because there are certain people that publishing that story. But and then I also wanted to mention that I don't think people that are watching this telethon know that that Jim has raised almost $3 million for the J6ers. That's a story that is not being told. These people are left alone in prison cells. These are the same people that we're fighting for when we talk about our friends that are electors that are being charged. So I think that every American needs to step up and realize that these people are our neighbors. These people that are having their homes raided in the middle of the night because they were on the Capitol grounds or they walked into the Capitol and are spending 14, 15 years in prison, who may never see their children grow up. This is the America that we're living in now. This is not the America that I grew up in, or that Jim grew up in, or that Matt grew up, or anybody in this room. This is a different America that we're living in. And if we don't stand up now and fight for these people, it's going to be too late for you. This isn't just about the electors. It's not about the J6ers. There are people that are coming after us because of our political views, because of our conservative views, and they're using lawfare to do it. And that's why I felt like, personally, this telethon was so important, because this is kind of ground zero here in Michigan. We have, the most lawless attorney general in the country. We have a secretary of state that is second to none, in my opinion, in this country when it comes to being deceitful and allowing voter fraud to happen in our state. And then, everybody knows that we have a governor who's just preparing for her next political move. So she really doesn't care about what's happening in our state. So anyhow, I just wanted to thank Jim again for always putting your neck out there, for always being the one that says, I'll do that story, even though there's risk involved. And so I appreciate you. I know the rest of the country appreciates you. There's a reason why between 1 to 3 million people go every day to the Gateway Pundit to watch the news that he publishes, because he's honest, he's truthful, he's careful about what he publishes, but he's not afraid to publish the truth. And he's not trying to work on behalf of the Democrat Party, which is really unusual in this climate right now with these so-called journalists. So anyhow, I just wanted to thank you, Jim, for agreeing to do this and for everything that you do.
Jim, would you like to take a minute or two to just say whatever is on your heart at this time?
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Matt and Patty. Thank you so much. I really, it's an honor to work with you on any project. I'm glad that you certainly have contributed at Gateway Pundit significantly, especially this last while as we continue to break open this registration fraud scandal that we now know is not just Muskegon, Michigan, but it's across Michigan. And it's also took place in several states, not just Michigan. And we have some of those reports that are coming out. And so you've been also very courageous. And, it's interesting today. I was talking to Dominic Pizzola. Last week, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And you would think he'd be defeated, and you'd think he'd be, just hopeless. His situation is dire. He's leaving, little kids. And it's just like you said, he's being persecuted for his politics. We know that. They ran a kangaroo court against him and the other Proud Boys, and they found them guilty of seditious conspiracy, which is complete nonsense. The only evidence they had was planted by the FBI in the Proud Boys chat group. And the only witnesses they had were FBI operatives inside of the Proud Boys groups. So it's a complete sham. This is the fight we have today. And I think the hope we have is that there are good people in Michigan. There's some real heroes in Michigan who stand up when they need to. And there's some
real hero Americans who stand up and that's our story. That's the American story. That's what they want to squeeze out of us. They want us to forget that America was made by individuals who had the courage to stand up at the right time, or in Rosa Parks' situation, to sit down at the right time. But they took action. And we need people like that today. And we have people like that in the country today who are going to take their, they're going to still, we don't know who they are yet, some of them. And they're going to come out and they're going to do what is right. Dominic, on the way out of his courtroom last week, he held his fist up and he pumped the air and he said, Trump won. And he walked out of the courtroom. And this is after they sentenced him to 10 years. And, I admire people like that. I want to have friends who are courageous like Dominic and like Patty and Matt and the 16 electors. That's the people I want to hang out with. And I know that's what most of America is. I think those who yield power over us, those who persecute us, really the wicked out there, I don't believe they will win. I do believe that there is a movement in America. I'm feeling it, that finally people are catching on to this horrible situation we're in because of the stolen election. I still can say that. I'm still a free American. I believe that. And Patty and I are going to continue to prove that. I think this story is not yet finished. There's still some chapters to be written, and we're going to be part of that. And so congratulations to you guys. I'm really happy you raised $106,000. That's fantastic. I'm so happy for those people who you're helping out, and I'm glad that I could help in just a little small way. Thank you.
That's incredible. And now we'd like to acknowledge a lot of our volunteers for the telethon and ask our own Shane Trejo to come up and read off that list for the finale. Go ahead, sweetie.
I just want to say one last thing. We also want to thank Mike Lindell for generously agreeing to run this telethon on Lindell TV, and Jenny Beth Martin, who agreed to let us run the telethon on the on her Tea Party Patriots Facebook page. So thank you to everybody who helped us broadcast this important telethon.
Here you go, Shane.
I just wanted to give a special thanks to Andrea, April, Annie, Liz, Renee, Angelina, Jeanette, Leah, Shannon, Steve, Tisha, Ann, Diane, Marge, Amber, Dar, Tanya, John Smith, John Rocha, and everyone who helped to promote this to make it such a success, all those who attended it tonight. And I think a great way to end this would be for Jeremy, who opened this his man cave to us today, to end with a quick prayer. So come on up, Jeremy.
Thanks, Shane. And thanks to everybody for their hard work and dedication on this. It was a pleasure to open up the man cave. That's what it's for, is to help people to have connections and community. And so let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for everything that you do in our life to move us closer and closer to purpose and a deeper relationship with you. Lord, I lift up first and foremost our 16 electors right now that are being persecuted here in Michigan, but also the rest of the political prisoners and people being assaulted in that political arena. Lord, we put them in your hands. We ask that you would protect them and guide them, give them wisdom in how to navigate, Lord, and above all, draw them close to you. Let them know that you've got a plan for their lives if they listen to your Spirit, if they walk as you guide them in each ordained footstep, Lord, that even we know that the apostles in the first century spent time in prison for their faith. These people are spending time in prison for standing up for the truth, and you are the Lord of truth. And so, Lord, we just lift up each and every one of these people being persecuted here in Michigan, and we know in Georgia, we know in Arizona, we know a whole bunch of other states where they're being persecuted. And of course, our rightful president, President Trump, we lift him up, and all of his legal staff that are being persecuted. And we come against the attack of the enemy right now. Everything that you're bringing forth, we cancel that assignment. We speak liberty and freedom over each and every one. We command the truth to come forth in Jesus' name, and we speak that all of this money will not go to anywhere but to defend each and every one of these liberty truth standers who stood strong, Lord, and we thank you for all the generous people. Lord, I speak a multiplied blessing back to each and every one that is given here today, but also to so many other people that have been persecuted through this lawfare. And Lord, we thank you for everything that you're doing. Though the road may be dark, we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you're standing there with your arms outstretched saying, I endured and you can too. And we thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.